Chapter 961, Feelings Leaving. Because Su Zimo was in the outside world, he couldn't keep an eye on the God world every second. So for a long time, he let Paimon cooperate with the heavenly Tao to manage the continent together. Basically nothing unusual, Paimon said. But there's one thing that needs attention. What is it? Su Zimo asked. After all things were born, aptitude and talent are not the same. Some people are born extraordinary, and their cultivation progresses very fast. Now, the strongest person on the continent has already cultivated to the Imperial Meridian realm, Paimon said. Master, your cultivation is only at the God Meridian realm. This world absolutely cannot allow anyone stronger than you to exist. Otherwise, they will soon break through the space barrier and escape from the God world. Hearing this, Su Zimo nodded slightly. That was true. He was the true master of the God world. Everything in the world was connected to him. The better the God world developed, the stronger the feedback power he received. The planet influenced him, but in a way, he also influenced the planet. If someone cultivated to the God Meridian realm and wanted to go further, they might very well touch the limits of this world. They could discover the truth of the God world. In that case, let the heavenly Tao set up heavenly tribulation. Anyone who wants to cross from the God Meridian to the path of immortality must undergo tribulation, Su Zimo said. Before I bear the heaven's will, no one is allowed to undergo tribulation. But judging from the timing, everything is coming soon, so there's no need to worry. Paimon nodded lightly. After circling the God world and confirming nothing was abnormal, Su Zimo finally left. His greatest reliance now was not his rebirth, nor his identity as Infernal Lord, but the world within his body. A complete, undamaged world. One that in the future could rival the primordial heartlands and the outer heavens. His current plan was to set tribulations starting at the God Meridian realm. After passing tribulation, one could ascend. Just like how the primordial heartlands had the outer heavens, the God world would then have another world. Layered clearly with a proper system. But this plan could not be done yet. It had to wait until he bore the heaven's will. When he came out of the God world, a clap of thunder outside woke Su Zimo. It was already afternoon. The sky was covered with dark clouds, lightning and thunder flashing, and outside the heavy rain poured down, as if someone was dumping buckets of water. The courtyard was low-lying, and many places even formed small puddles. Han Yenro held an umbrella, hurrying around the courtyard, checking whether the drains were blocked, to prevent rainwater from flooding into the house. Yenro, come here, Su Zimo waved and called. Zimo, why did you come out? Han Yenro quickly ran over. Although she had the umbrella, her white blouse was still soaked by the rain. Her black hair clung to her cheek, and her eyes were moving and tender. Be careful not to catch a cold, Su Zimo said with a smile. It's fine. I'm just worried the rainwater will flow into the house. Han Yenro shook her head. Have you ever cultivated? Su Zimo looked at her and asked. No, my father and uncle won't let me cultivate. Han Yenro shook her head. They say cultivation is too hard and full of danger. They want me to live an ordinary life, that's enough. Watch closely, Su Zimo smiled, slowly extending his right hand. Spiritual energy surged in his palm. The rain falling from the sky actually froze still. He waved his right hand again, and all the raindrops gathered together, forming a wide river. With the wave of his hand, the river flowed in midair. Finally, it formed a painting. In the painting, a young girl held an umbrella, lifted her pants hem, and ran carefully through the rain. This painting made of flowing water reflected in the courtyard. Beautiful, isn't it? Su Zimo asked.
Han Yenro nodded heavily.
When she looked up at Su Zimo, her eyes were filled with emotion. But when he turned his head to look at her, she quickly lowered her gaze. As his hand fell, the space around them returned to normal, and the rainwater fell to the ground, flowing smoothly along the channels outward. The raindrops hit the ground, raising transparent bubbles. Zimo, do you know what my wish was when I was a child? Han Yenro laughed as she looked at the bubbles. Back then I wanted to make a necklace of water bubbles, to string the bubbles together with a needle and thread, but every time the bubbles burst at the touch. Su Zimo only smiled. Zimo, what is your dream? Han Yenro turned and asked curiously. Dreams? I've never thought about it, Su Zimo replied. Since birth, I've carried too many burdens. I can only go forward without hesitation, with no way back. Wait here, Han Yenro said, then ran toward her room. Before long she returned, holding something in her hand. Here, this is for you. Han Yenro handed the item to Su Zimo. It was a red sachet. It carried a faint fragrance, and on the front was painted a bird. As she handed it to him, her hands trembled slightly, and her face flushed red. What's wrong? Su Zimo asked curiously. Are you not feeling well? This sachet means peace. Take it, and no matter where you go, I will pray for you, Han Yenro said, summoning her courage. Looking at the sachet in her hands, Su Zimo fell silent. Even if he were foolish, he could understand. Legend said there was a bird called the mandarin duck. They always appeared in pairs. People often used them to symbolize steadfast love. The male bird was called Yuan, the female bird Yang. And the bird on this sachet was clearly the word for Yuan. Don't be embarrassed. I don't mean anything else. Han Yenro smiled lightly. I just. Her words choked off, and she didn't know what to say. Yenro, what are you two doing standing outside in this heavy rain? Just then, Han Shengshao and his brother rushed back. The rain was pouring, and they stood under the eaves, wringing their soaked coats, water dripping down in streams. Han Yenro quickly hid the sachet, smiling as she said, Zimo and I were watching the rain. What's there to watch in the rain? Han Shengtai patted his leg, then looked at Su Zimo and smiled. Good news. When we went out today, we ran into a merchant caravan. They are headed to the Dark Kingdom, and because of the rain they're staying in the village tonight. They agreed to take you with them when they leave tomorrow. Out of sight, Han Yenro's face turned instantly pale. Thank you, Uncle Han, Su Zimo smiled. Rest early. Gather your strength for tomorrow, Han Shengshao also said with a smile. Chapter 962, MHM, okay. Dark Kingdom, huh? Su Zimo muttered softly. The night was the same as ever, thunder and rain intertwined. The whole world drowned in it. Everyone fell into deep sleep. In the middle of the night, a series of knocks on the door woke everyone. Brother Han, are you there? Someone shouted urgently outside. Su Zimo walked out of his room, and the Han brothers followed right after. They opened the courtyard gate and saw a haggard woman standing there. Old son's wife, what's wrong? Han Shengshao asked in surprise when he saw her. It's raining outside. Why didn't you bring an umbrella? My child is injured. The village has no good medicine, the woman said hurriedly. I know you brothers often travel to the Dark Kingdom. I was wondering if you had some good healing medicine. I can pay. What kind of injury? Han Shengshao frowned. He was being playful. Tonight in the rain, the road was dark and slippery. He didn't see clearly and fell off the cliff. As she spoke, her voice choked with tears. If Old Man Chong hadn't found him, he would probably already be a corpse. Don't panic, Han Shengshao quickly comforted her. He turned to fetch a medical box from the house and said, Let's go. We'll take a look first. Brother Han, can I come along? Su Zimo asked from the side. I know a little about medicine. Then come, Han Shengshao nodded. The night air was cool, even somewhat cold. It made goosebumps rise all over. The group walked in silence. The rain had lessened, now just a fine drizzle falling. Ahead, a courtyard was lit brightly, surely the woman's home. The Han brothers are here, someone shouted from inside as they approached the gate. Right after, a group of people came out to welcome them. Uncle Chong Lu, master-son heir. The Han brothers exchanged brief greetings. All right, let's see the child first, Uncle Chong Lu said. Our little village's medical skills are limited. The Dark Kingdom is some distance away. The child may not last that long. We have to rely on you two brothers. Han Shengshao shook his head lightly and entered the house with them. Inside was much warmer. On the bed lay a child. His face was pale, with no trace of blood. But his chest looked terribly gruesome. It seemed as if it had been split open by sharp rock. His heart, intestines, and other organs had even spilled out. Though the bleeding had been stopped, his breathing was getting weaker and weaker. So serious.
Han Shengqiao exclaimed in shock.
Yes, do your best. Uncle Chonglu nodded. Don't carry too much burden in your heart. Everything is left to fate. Han Shengshao carefully opened the box he brought, taking out a small jar of medicine. This is the best healing medicine I bought, said to bring flesh and bones back to life, he explained. He sprinkled the medicine on the wound, channeling spirit force into his right hand. Su Zimo could tell most villagers here had never cultivated. As for the Han brothers, though they had cultivated, their level was not high, only around the Paragon Meridian realm. The medicine spread across the wound, gathering spirit force to the boy's chest. Brother Han, this won't work, Su Zimo said. His internal organs are injured. Your medicine only treats external wounds. Then what do we do? His internal injuries are too severe. I don't dare touch them, Han Shengshao sighed. Forget it. I owe you a favor. It's time I repay it. Su Zimo shook his head. He slowly extended his right hand, a wisp of life energy coiling in his palm. This was condensed from the tree of life. I kept this to save my own life, Su Zimo said to the others. As long as there's one breath left, this life energy can heal completely. He waved his hand, sending the life energy into the boy's body. At once, the boy's face flushed red at visible speed. The gruesome wound on his chest also began to heal. Within seconds, the boy coughed, stunning everyone present. Mother! The boy murmured weakly. Mother's here. The woman rushed forward, hugging him tightly, tears welling up and her nose stinging. Brother Han, let's go. Su Zimo smiled lightly. Hearing that he wanted to leave, everyone quickly expressed their gratitude, especially the woman who even wanted to kneel in thanks. Su Zimo, understanding the greatness of maternal love, left quietly with Han Shengshao into the night. The drizzle had almost stopped, only a few drops falling now and then. Little Mo, you're a cultivator, aren't you? Han Shengshao finally asked after a long silence. I practiced for a while, Su Zimo said with a smile. That's not just a while, Han Shengshao laughed, but didn't press further. Tomorrow we part ways. I hope you travel safely, and that we'll meet again someday. We will, Su Zimo nodded. When they returned home, Han Yenro was standing at the door waiting. She finally let out a sigh of relief when she saw them. You'll catch a cold in this weather, Han Shengshao said with some heartache. Father, is he okay? Han Yenro smiled, not caring about herself, only worried about the child. What's there to worry about? Did you forget how they used to mock you? Han Shengtai said harshly. Su Zimo also knew that in this village, because of her appearance, people didn't treat Han Yenro well. Among adults it was just whispers, but children were crueler. That's different, Han Yenro said with a smile, shaking her head. Don't worry, he's fine. Thanks to little Mo, or the boy wouldn't have survived the night, Han Shengtai admitted. After a few more words, the Han brothers slipped back into their rooms. Outside, only Su Zimo and Han Yenro remained. Zimo, Han Yenro called softly. Su Zimo raised his head. You're leaving tomorrow, right? Safe travels. Okay. Take care of yourself. Okay. If you ever miss this place, remember to come back. Okay. The rain seems to have stopped. I'm a little cold. Can we cuddle together? Ha! Su Zimo looked up sharply, the cold wind whipping his long hair, the night roaring like a silent beast. Just kidding. I just wanted to see if all you can say are and okay. Han Yenro smiled, but her smile was filled with bitterness. Chapter 963 Welcome to the Blood Rune Space. Su Zimo gave an awkward smile. He didn't know how to respond to that topic. Zimo, I will miss you.
Han Yanro looked at Su Zimo.
This time she didn't avoid his gaze as she usually did. Even though her face was flushed red, and because of nervousness she bit her lower lip tightly, she still stubbornly stared at Su Zimo without moving, as if she wanted to carve his face deeply into her heart. When Su Zimo didn't respond for a long time, Han Yenro turned around and waved her hand. "All right, I'm going back to sleep." The weather was always unpredictable. The rain that had stopped seemed to gather again with signs of pouring down. It was unclear whether the silent rain fell, or the sound of the rain covered the soundless tears. The moment she turned around, her tears fell like the rain, pouring down endlessly. "When you leave tomorrow, don't wake me. Just go quietly. I want to sleep until the afternoon, then sleep again until the morning after tomorrow. I've been too tired these days." She said this without turning back, walking toward her room. Su Zimo was silent for a long time, but in the end he returned to his room. He was not of this world. He always remembered his goal. He had come only for the ancient celestial court. There was no need to get involved in too many things, not even with the blood rune race. Back in his room, Su Zimo lay quietly on his bed. His perception was sharp. Even without using his eyes, everything in the courtyard appeared clearly in his mind. The girl hadn't gone to sleep as she said. Instead, she came out of her room and sat at the doorway, staring all night at Su Zimo's room where he slept. Only when sounds came from Han Xingxiao's room at dawn did the girl hurriedly stand up and rush back inside. "Little Mo, get up and pack, the caravan is about to leave. Don't delay their time," Han Xingxiao shouted from the courtyard. Su Zimo came out of his room with a smile. "I'm already packed." "Then let's go," Han Xingxiao nodded. Su Zimo turned back and gave a long, deep look at that room, then followed Han Xingxiao away. The caravan was of considerable size, with nearly 100 people, all dressed in blue long robes. They looked very uniform, each one clearly skilled travelers. Han Xingxiao explained a few things to the leader of the caravan, who then gave Su Zimo a horse, letting him travel in the middle of the group. At dawn, under the faint light of morning, the caravan set out. Though the sky still drizzled, they couldn't afford to wait any longer. Along the mountain road in front of the village, they marched in great numbers toward the Dark Kingdom. "What's your name, brother?" Su Zimo smiled and asked the man in the blue robe beside him. "Lon 73, the man replied. Seeing Su Zimo's doubt, he explained, "We were all orphans taken in by the Lon clan. We have no names, only numbers." Su Zimo nodded slightly. "Do you often travel to the Dark Kingdom?" "The caravan trades there," the man said with a slight nod. "Then do you know where there might be a sea of blood?" Su Zimo asked. "Never heard of it," the man answered plainly. Su Zimo felt he wasn't someone easy to converse with, so he didn't ask further. Just then, the caravan suddenly halted ahead. Commotion rose in front. "There's someone ahead." "What people?" "Everyone be careful." Su Zimo guided his horse to the edge of the road and looked up. There, by the side of the mountain path, stood Han Yenro under an umbrella, her figure thin, scanning the group, as if she was searching for someone. "Don't panic. She's my friend," Su Zimo quickly called out. He leapt off his horse and, not caring about anything else, ran toward Han Yenro. Coming close, he let out a long sigh. The weather was cold, and her body trembled slightly. She wasn't dressed warmly, and her hands and face were slightly bluish. "Why did you come?" Su Zimo asked. "Father told me to see you off," Han Yenro said with a smile. "Are you cold?" Su Zimo held her hand. Her hand was icy cold. Han Yenro shook her head lightly. "It was cold before, but now it's not." He looked at her, silent for a long time, then finally said, "I actually understand everything, but you should know I won't stay here. I don't even belong here." "I know. Brother Zimo told me before. You were born carrying many burdens, and can only walk forward without hesitation." Han Yenro nodded with a smile. "Father said, a daughter who marries out is like water that's poured out. If you are willing, let me follow you. If you're not willing, Then I'll just stand here and watch until your figure disappears from my sight. Then I'll go home. Okay? Hearing this, Su Zimo gave a bitter smile. Uncle Han has given me a difficult problem. Han Yenro looked at him, wanting to say, you don't have to force yourself. But she couldn't say it because she was afraid that if he truly didn't force himself, then he really would just leave. She would be heartbroken, unable to bear it. For Han Yenro, her life so far had been filled with mockery and ridicule because of her looks. Other than her father and uncle, almost no one was willing to talk to her. Su Zimo was the first stranger willing to be her friend, like he had lit a third flame in her heart. The third flame besides her father and uncle. Many times we don't need a reason for what we do. Just like this moth, knowing the flame is out of reach, but still throwing itself at it without hesitation. Su Zimo was silent for a long time. Finally, he asked, no matter what the result, you won't regret it? No. Han Yenro lowered her head, shaking it lightly. Let's go to the Dark Kingdom first. I haven't found the place I'm looking for yet, Su Zimo said with a smile. He reached out and took her hand, leading her toward the horse. Her face turned red, but she bit her lip and obediently didn't resist. Young man, let your little lady ride in a carriage. She doesn't look too healthy, said a burly man nearby, clearly the caravan leader. Su Zimo thanked him, then led Han Yenro to the carriage. Sleep a while. When you wake, we'll almost be at the Dark Kingdom, Su Zimo said.
Han Yenro nodded.
He let her lie sideways, resting her head on his leg. Perhaps because she had caught a chill, and also because she hadn't slept all night, when Su Zimo used spirit force to warm her body, she soon fell asleep in that warmth. Halfway down the road, another disturbance arose ahead. Su Zimo carefully laid Han Yenro on the cushion inside the carriage, then stepped outside. Don't push, old man is just looking for someone. As Su Zimo stepped out, he saw an old man standing in front of the caravan. He wore a red robe, bearing yellow teeth as he smiled at Su Zimo. Welcome to the Blood Rune Space. Chapter 964, Truth of the Blood Rune Space. Su Zimo looked at the old man in the red robe. The aura within him was boundless, endless, overwhelming. Wearing a red robe, he stood quietly in front of the caravan, his face painted with heavy makeup. His body was short, only about 1.5 meters tall. At this moment, he grinned at Su Zimo. Who are you? Su Zimo frowned and asked. Could the young master talk to me alone? The old man in red said with a smile. Su Zimo glanced at the caravan thoughtfully, then finally nodded slightly. He followed behind the old man, their figures like hawks soaring, scaling the rocky cliffside. In just over 10 seconds, they leaped onto the cliff, standing at the edge of a precipice. A cold wind suddenly swept by, rustling their robes. Before I introduce myself, I want to ask the young master a question. The old man in red spoke kindly, smiling. How has your experience been these past few days in the Blood Rune Space? Nothing much, Su Zimo replied indifferently. Young master speaks against your heart. The old man in red chuckled. Just now, had you rejected that young lady, I would not have revealed myself. I would have let you wander this Blood Rune Space longer. But since you accepted her into your carriage, I decided to come out. This is the Blood Rune Space? Su Zimo looked at him calmly. Why is it different from what I've understood? Come with me somewhere. Once there, you'll understand everything, the old man in red said. He extended his right hand, tearing open the void before them. Within the void, Su Zimo sensed the aura of a teleportation formation. Without hesitation, he followed inside. His body suddenly grew weightless as layers of spatial barriers shattered before his eyes, until finally everything stopped. Su Zimo opened his eyes and looked at the world before him. Endless seas of blood flowed thickly in all directions. Filthy, crimson. The blood sea roared, the world soaked in red, and within that sea countless eyes seemed to peer at him, carrying immense might. Su Zimo turned his head, only to feel as though he were submerged within this ocean of blood, lost within it in an instant. This is the real blood rune space? He asked the old man in red beside him. Let me introduce myself. I am the old patriarch of the blood rune race. My name a single character, Shua. The old man in red smiled faintly. You may address me as Patriarch Shua. Su Zimo spoke his own name, then asked, if this is the blood rune space, then what was that previous world? Compared with this blood sea before him, that world just now was truly the difference between paradise and hell. Look over there. Following the old man's finger, Su Zimo saw a blood-colored orb suspended in the void. This orb radiated a familiar power. Su Zimo approached it and immediately realized it was a particle world. Everything he had experienced earlier was inside this particle world. From the outside, one could clearly observe the people within their every action. The particle world was of medium size. From within, he could even see the caravan from earlier, Han Yenro still sleeping inside the carriage. I don't quite understand. Su Zimo looked toward the old man in red and asked, before coming to the blood rune space, when you heard of blood rune beasts, what did you think of? Patriarch Shua asked with a smile. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Before entering the blood rune space, he had made every preparation. He believed it would be nothing but blood seas. The blood rune beasts hidden within, savage and bloodthirsty. An inevitable battle of epic scale. That was the preparation he had made. But upon arriving, he found things were far from that. When the world thinks of the blood rune beasts, what they recall is always the end of the legendary era. Those powerful, ferocious monsters. The old man sighed softly. At that time, the holy progenitor wished to exterminate my people. We begged bitterly. And in the end, the holy progenitor, upholding heaven's virtue of cherishing life, granted us one last chance, only to suppress us here. Hearing the old man's words, Su Zimo did not interrupt. He didn't know much about those hidden matters of that era. Perhaps only those who lived through it could truly understand. But he wouldn't simply believe everything the old man said either. At the time of suppression, many within the race were violent, filled only with the desire to break free. But the holy progenitor's brilliance, how could we ever compare? The old man said with a bitter smile. 10,000 years, 20,000 years, countless millennia passed. With time, our anger dwindled. We no longer sought anything else, only to live freely like other races. At this point, Patriarch Shua looked at Su Zimo and asked, do you understand? Only when you truly experience it will you realize that freedom is more intoxicating than any empire or dominion. Then what is the purpose of this particle world? Su Zimo asked. What happened in that era, whether right or wrong, should be borne by us old ones. But the younger generations, they are innocent. They should not be dragged down by it. Patriarch Shua spoke with sorrow. From the moment they are born, it is as if a death sentence has been pronounced. Imprisoned here for all eternity, forced to face only the endless blood sea. Some could not endure it and chose suicide in the end. We had no choice. Over 10,000 years, we finally created this particle world, one that mimics the outside. Every newborn would be sent there. This world was created for our descendants. Hearing this, Su Zimo finally understood. Whether it was Han Yenro or Han Shengshao and his brother, or that village, or the Dark Kingdom, even more distant lands, none of them had memories of the blood sea. From birth, they were placed into this particle world. Their whole lives would pass in a fabricated but benevolent lie. They need not endure the torment and pain of the blood sea, but could live quietly, growing old, dying naturally. This was the greatest help the blood rune race could give their descendants. So, the moment I entered that particle world, you all noticed me? Su Zimo asked. Yes, but we did not disturb you. We wished for you to experience it yourself. Patriarch Shua replied without denial. We blood rune beasts are no different from your human race or any other. There are girls with tender feelings, brothers with warm hearts, mothers begging desperately to save their children. No different. They are not evil. Do not look at us with alien eyes. You've done all this, told me all this, but in the end your goal is still the same. Su Zimo smiled faintly. You want me to break the seal and help you leave this place. If truly someone must pay for past mistakes, then if countless ages of imprisonment are still not enough, we old ones are willing to bear it. Chapter 965, Ancient Celestial Court. Patriarch Shua spoke, his tone carrying even a trace of pleading. We old ones are willing to seal ourselves here, never stepping outside for all eternity, until death comes to us in this place. I only ask that you let the younger generation of this particle world go. Let them be free. When he spoke the word freedom, his voice grew heavy. There is no such thing as truly sharing another's pain, but everyone understands the value of freedom. How do you know that I can open this blood-ruined space? Su Zimo asked with a faint smile. Only two kinds of people can come to this blood-ruined space. The first are those who wish to annihilate our blood-ruined race. The second are those who come for the ancient celestial court. Patriarch Shua said. You are clearly not the first kind, so you must be here for the ancient celestial court. And that means you surely carry the true God sword. Since you know I have the true God sword, why don't you try to seize it? Su Zimo asked curiously. Since you were able to come here, you must not fear us blood-ruined race. Besides, we no longer desire struggle. We only wish for our descendants to be free, nothing more. Patriarch Shua shook his head. If you are willing to agree, our blood-ruined race is prepared to accept any condition, so long as it is within our ability. Hearing his words, Su Zimo fell into silence. We beg you to grant us this. After we leave, we are willing to hide from the world, never joining in any conflict, Patriarch Shua said, bowing and kneeling respectfully before Su Zimo. From the blood sea itself, endless waves churned violently. Please grant us this. Countless voices roared in unison from the blood sea, echoing like thunder. Do you know where the ancient celestial court is located? Su Zimo asked in a low voice. From here, 300 miles northward, there is a golden light. That is where the celestial court seal lies, Patriarch Shua quickly said. This is only our guess, for that golden light is incomparably strong. Anyone who touched it either died or was gravely injured. None of us ever crossed it to see what lies beyond. Take me there, Su Zimo said. Oh, and what is the current strength of your blood-ruined race? He recalled what Lady Jing had once told him, that the ancient celestial court seemed to be guarded by god-beasts, whose strength had reached the level of half-step nirvana void. Originally, he had planned to let Paimon and Seven-Face handle it, but now he could borrow the strength of the blood-ruined race. The strongest in our race is the previous generation's elder patriarch, who reached nirvana void. But his lifespan has run out, and he dares not act lightly. Besides him, there are 3 others at half-step nirvana void, Patriarch Shua admitted directly without concealment. Then bring those 3 half-step nirvana voids with us. We will go to the ancient celestial court, Su Zimo said. Hearing this, Patriarch Shua did not object. Chong, Su, come forth. At his words, the blood sea rolled violently. Deep within, monstrous waves surged as if some terrifying presence was about to emerge. Soon, 2 towering figures rose from the blood sea, their upper bodies bare. Both had beast heads on human bodies. One head was white, the other purple. Their appearances were different. One had a sharp nose and ears, his eyes gloomy and cold. The other wore a huge earring, even a silver ring through his nose. His eyes burned like fire, and 2 horns rose from his head. Greetings, honored one. The 2 greeted respectfully. In the ancient celestial court there may be guardian beasts. You will need to face them, Su Zimo said. Honored one, go without worry. We will clear away all obstacles for you, said the one called Chong, standing on the left. The 4 of them rose into the air, flying toward the depths of the blood sea. The endless scenery of the blood sea was nauseating. Staring too long made one feel sick. Su, the beast on the right, led the way. Soon they arrived at the place of golden light. Su Zimo raised his head and saw ahead a barrier, faint golden light flickering across it. With a wave of his right hand, endless sword intent condensed in his palm. The true God's sword shattered the void, appearing in his grip. The moment it appeared, Su Zimo clearly felt changes stir in the three Blood Rune race members. But they restrained themselves, not acting rashly. Rest assured, I bear no grudge against your race. If I'm in the mood, I might even let you leave this place, Su Zimo said calmly. The three all nodded. He lifted the true God's sword, thousands of strands of sword intent coiling around him. Closing his eyes slightly, he sensed the will that the holy progenitor had once left upon this sword. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, and he slashed directly at the golden barrier. With a deafening boom, the scene before them was engulfed in sword light. Boundless sword intent filled the endless void. The golden light retreated inch by inch under its assault. When the true God sword finally struck fully, there came a sharp crack as the void before them shattered. The golden light vanished. Before their eyes stood a vast palace, perched atop a jade-like structure. The palace was shrouded in immortal mist. Immortal fog swirled, carrying faint whispers like celestial songs echoing within. The palace towered as if it held up the sky itself. Stars poured down from above, and the celestial river wound around it. Looking downward, they saw white jade staircases stretching out endlessly. It was as if celestial music resounded in their ears, urging them forward as though on a pilgrimage toward the palace. Their feet touched the steps, stirring the immortal mist. Step by step, before this vast palace, they felt as small as ants. To think, once upon a time, in that age, the holy progenitor had ruled from this celestial court, commanding all. This had once been the supreme royal court, master of the entire primordial heartlands. Back then, the primordial heartlands were unified. All things obeyed the holy progenitor. But now, since Emperor Zhenwu established the imperial era, the great sects coexisted. There was no true ruler anymore. Even the mighty immortal extinction sacred ground, with its 5 grand emperors, only dominated in the Overlord region. Its influence could not extend to other continents. There were 99 steps. When they reached the top, Su Zimo saw the palace clearly. 18 towering columns like heavenly pillars upheld the entire structure, carved with gilded designs. The palace had 3 tiers. The white jade beneath their feet glowed warmly. Mist swirled. Lights shimmered faintly through it. Windows were carved with green tiles, walls built from polished jade. On the sandalwood eaves, phoenixes spread their wings as if about to fly, while golden dragons coiled up the gates, soaring 90,000 li skyward. Every step on the ground felt unreal. Looking down, the entire blood rune space seemed to lie beneath their gaze. So this is the ancient celestial court, Chang said with awe. No sooner had his words fallen than 2 deafening beast roars erupted from deep within the palace. The palace's ancient gates, sealed for countless ages, slowly began to open. Chapter 966, The Administrator Within Celestial Court. The great doors slowly opened with a thunderous rumble. First, 2 massive shadows reflected through the immortal mist. Everyone looked up, only to see 2 gigantic beasts stepping out from within. The earth itself trembled in their wake. These 2 strange beasts were each over 100 meters long, their necks alone stretching nearly 50 meters. Their appearance was bizarre. Their heads resembled those of dragons. On top of their heads grew 2 horns, their mouths twisted ferociously, and their bean-sized eyes glared coldly. From their long necks downwards, their bodies were extremely bulky, covered in sharp backward-facing spikes, with scales and plates protecting every inch. Desolate beasts, Patriarch Shua said faintly. You recognize them? Su Zimo asked. How could I not? Back when our blood rune race was defeated by the holy progenitor, the desolate beast race was among those who helped bring us down, Patriarch Shua said bitterly. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been sealed away as a whole race. You still hold resentment?
Su Zimo smiled.
I dare not. It is only a lingering pain, Patriarch Shua sighed. There are things you cannot truly understand, but the resentment remains. Still, it is only resentment, nothing more. The 2 desolate beasts looked down at the group and spoke in human tongue. Human, have you come to claim the legacy of the ancient celestial court? Since I carry the true God sword, I naturally came to take a look. Su Zimo nodded lightly. Then how could you mingle with these blood-ruined beasts? The desolate beasts snorted coldly. They are sinners. And if I don't mingle with them, you would not block me? Su Zimo asked. That cannot be. To enter here, you must first defeat us. The beasts replied, shaking their heads. Then enough nonsense, Su Zimo barked. Go. You three hold them off. That should be no problem, right? Leave it to us. Patriarch Shua nodded. The aura of half-step Nirvana void erupted in the skies above. It was as though countless years of pent-up anger had all burst forth at once. The three blood rune warriors charged the two desolate beasts without reservation. The beasts roared in fury, storms surging around them as their boundless beastly might enveloped the entire palace. Amidst the swirling immortal mist, the desolate beasts lunged. The clash of such power was so overwhelming that even Su Zimo dared not get too close. Nirvana Void Realm, or even half-step Nirvana Void, was still far from his current reach. The battle between them was earth-shaking, shaking the palace to its core, as though the silence of countless years had at last been broken. The blood rune warriors abandoned their human forms, transforming into towering beasts themselves. As the giants clashed in brutal combat, Su Zimo seized an opening and darted straight into the palace. The desolate beasts howled in rage, but it was futile. The three blood rune warriors desperately held them back. Beneath his feet and all around him, immortal mist billowed. Before him stood a series of vast great halls, half hidden among the clouds. Each hall was unique. One radiated endless violet light, stretching 3,000 miles across the heavens. Another was enshrouded in glacial frost, white fog rising, as though 10,000 miles of frozen rivers surged forth. Others were surrounded by god beasts, azure dragons, white tigers, roars and cries of beasts shaking the skies. Each hall exuded a distinct aura. Su Zimo chose the grandest, most imposing hall and walked toward it. The character's Buddha Hall gleamed with brilliance, inscribed upon the golden plaque above. He placed his hands on the doors of the hall and pushed. With a booming rumble, the doors swung open, and the interior gradually revealed itself to Su Zimo's eyes. Inside there was no immortal mist. Though countless years had passed, it was still pristine, spotlessly clean. At the foremost position sat a golden throne. No one knew what material it was made from. Behind it was the carving of 9 dragons spitting out a pearl. The throne itself was ancient yet majestic. Beneath it, golden springs welled from the earth, releasing rich spiritual energy that slowly revived the hall. Other than the throne, the entire hall was empty. It seemed the only adornment was a painting rolled up on the wall. Su Zimo glanced around, then approached the painting. He reached out, slowly untying the string that bound it. With a swish, the scroll unfurled and dropped down. Before he could see the image clearly, a flash of white light burst out, spiritual energy violently surging. From within the painting, a man's illusory figure emerged. The man clasped his hands behind his back. His hair and beard were white, and he wore a magnificent robe embroidered with flowing clouds. His expression was gentle, with a faint smile on his face. If one judged by looks alone, ignoring everything else, this man resembled a refined, noble gentleman. His features were delicate and refined. Su Zimo studied him, while the robed man gazed back calmly. "Successor, welcome to the ancient celestial court," the man said with a soft laugh. "You are?" Su Zimo asked in surprise. "The holy progenitor?" "No, I am but the administrator of the ancient celestial court, a mere remnant of will." The man shook his head. "According to the instructions left by the holy progenitor, anyone who comes bearing the true God's sword has the right to inherit this ancient celestial court." "And the holy progenitor himself?" Su Zimo asked. The robed man pointed upwards and smiled without speaking. "Outer heavens?" Su Zimo thought for a moment, then understood. He asked, "What remains here in the ancient celestial court now?" "All have ascended. This place is but an empty shell, less than a tenth of what it once was. The man answered truthfully. Then what use is this celestial court to me? Su Zimo asked. To restore the celestial court's prestige, to command the primordial heartlands, to become the recognized ruler of the entire continent. The man said with a smile. No interest. Su Zimo waved his hand dismissively, his curiosity fading. After the holy progenitor ascended, he once returned briefly, the robed man continued. He left behind a great hall specifically for the successor. May I see it? Su Zimo asked. Of course. The ancient celestial court is vast. You may go wherever you wish. The man nodded. He raised his right hand, and the void before them rippled. Su Zimo felt a strong suction force, his body being pulled into space itself. When he regained his senses, he stood in another part of the void. Before him rose a rather simple great hall. It was entirely pitch black, plain and unadorned, with nothing remarkable about it. Beside it was a well. From its depths, thick immortal mist poured forth. Su Zimo walked step by step toward the black hall. Before he could touch it, the hall's doors opened of their own accord. Looking inside, the space was not large. Only a single wooden rack stood within. Chapter 967 Seal Broken, The Mysterious Man. Only a single crude rack stood there, which was somewhat unexpected to Su Zimo. He walked into the grand hall and approached the rack, where several items were placed. Casually picking up a book and glancing at it, his gaze instantly froze. Heaven-shattering God Scripture, he murmured to himself. One of the 10 primordial God Scriptures? He then picked up a second book. Heaven Unity 3 Gates God Scripture. The third book. Creation Devouring God Scripture. Infinite Samsara God Eye. Aryan Swastika God Scripture. Primordial Alchemy God Scripture. Primeval Buddha God Scripture, consisting of present Tathagata Sutra, the past Maitreya Sutra, and the future Birthless Sutra. God-Devil Creation Atlas. Heaven-Earth Dharma Codex. Infernal Creation Eternal Canon. Looking at the 10 scriptures before him, the shock in Su Zimo's heart was hard to calm. To be precise, it was beyond anything he had expected. He casually opened the Heaven-Shattering God Scripture and the Heaven Unity 3 Gates God Scripture, 2 primordial God Scriptures he had already practiced. He discovered the contents were exactly identical. Why would the 10 primordial God Scriptures be here? This was a tremendous question. The only explanation Su Zimo could think of was that after the holy progenitor returned from the outer heavens, he placed all the primordial God Scriptures he had obtained inside the ancient celestial court. But what was his reason for doing this? Was it specially prepared for Su Zimo? But at that time he probably hadn't even been born yet. Unable to figure it out, he chose not to dwell on it and instead collected all 10 primordial God Scriptures first. On the rack, besides the 10 primordial God Scriptures, there was also a long flute. The flute seemed to be made of jade, warm to the touch in his palm. Some strange patterns were carved upon it. They depicted an ascender, neither male nor female, neither demon nor immortal. It was hard to distinguish. Holding the jade flute, Su Zimo could feel a powerful energy lingering within. He didn't study it further and stored the jade flute away as well. Casting his gaze around once more, the rack held only one last book. Chronicles of the Outer Heavens. So everything has been prepared, hasn't it? Su Zimo chuckled softly. After collecting all the items, he surveyed the surroundings. Finding nothing else unusual, he directly departed. He returned to the grand hall where he had earlier encountered the painting scroll. The robed man gave Su Zimo a token. He said it was a symbol of identity for the ancient celestial court, and that if Su Zimo ever went to the outer heavens, perhaps there would be a chance to meet the holy progenitor again. After bidding farewell to the man, Su Zimo left the ancient celestial court. He looked back once, watching as the sealed-off world was once more shrouded by celestial mist. Su Zimo had asked about the blood rune race, but the robed man gave no answer, only saying that everything would be for Su Zimo to decide himself. Arriving at the gate of the ancient celestial court, The 3 members of the Blood Rune race were still locked in battle with the 2 desolate beasts. It seemed they could not determine a victor anytime soon. Enough, let's go. Su Zimo waved his hand. Patriarch Shuo snorted coldly at the desolate beasts, then withdrew. You're cheating. The 2 desolate beasts glared at Su Zimo angrily. You didn't defeat us. We don't acknowledge your identity. Why the hell would I need your acknowledgement? Su Zimo laughed lightly. Did you succeed? Patriarch Shuo asked, looking at Su Zimo from the side. Something unexpected, really? I hadn't planned to gain much, Su Zimo replied. Then do you have further instructions for us? Shuo continued to ask. Find me a quiet place. I want to forge a weapon, Su Zimo said. Having visited the ancient celestial court, the true God sword was no longer of much use to him. He planned to reforge Shadow Tyrant, for Shadow Tyrant was truly his life-bound weapon. If you forge here, it's actually a fine place, Patriarch Shuo smiled. This blood rune space can resist heavenly tribulation. No matter how powerful, no tribulation can pierce the seal. Such a thing exists? Su Zimo was surprised. After all, when he reforged the true God sword, the heavenly tribulations he faced had given him no end of suffering. Our former patriarch, when breaking through to the Nirvana Void Realm, also encountered heavenly tribulation, Shuo explained. But alas, even heavenly tribulation could not split this seal. Otherwise, we would have long left. Hearing this, Su Zimo nodded slightly. The group returned to the territory of the Blood Rune race. The 3 guarded Su Zimo, allowing him to forge weapons in peace. In front of them, Su Zimo first set aside the true God sword, then took out the supreme God hammer, and the fragments of Shadow Tyrant from before. The 9-curve God flame encircled the fragments of Shadow Tyrant and the true God sword. He needed to fuse the 2 perfectly before he could hammer them into shape. This was destined to be a long process. Golden red flames roared and burned. For more than half a month, Su Zimo worked to melt the 2 together. Fortunately, the Tree of Life continually replenished his strength. Otherwise, the consumption was so great that even he would have struggled. Gripping the supreme God hammer, Su Zimo envisioned the form of Shadow Tyrant, striking it again and again. Booming echoes resounded continuously throughout the space. Another half-month passed as he hammered. By the later stages, heavenly tribulation had already gathered above the Blood Rune race. With each strike, the tribulation grew stronger. This scene was even more grand than what he had faced back at the Heavenly Tao Academy. Dark clouds pressed down, threatening to crush the city. When Shadow Tyrant and the true God sword fused perfectly and the blade's form emerged, the lightning above the firmament also reached its peak. Crackling explosions erupted as it descended in bombardment. The seal of the Blood Rune space transformed into a crimson barrier, blocking all lightning outside. Heavenly Tao seemed provoked, growing furious. One bolt of lightning after another rained down, carrying destructive power enough to annihilate everything. Judging from this scale, it's at least a level 5 tribulation, Shuo remarked. Inside the Blood Rune space, turbulence grew violent. Countless seas of blood churned and roared. Waves surged in layers. You want to leave, don't you? Su Zimo said to Shuo and the others, smiling. We beg you to grant it. Shuo nodded respectfully. Blade. Complete. Su Zimo whispered, tightly gripping the trembling saber before him. The familiar feeling of Shadow Tyrant surged back into his heart. My old friend, welcome back. The heavenly tribulation above grew even more violent, reaching an uncontrollable state. It was preparing its ultimate strike. Finally, with the last strike seemingly draining all its power, the thunderclouds began to dissipate. But that final, world-ending bolt still descended. It's now, Su Zimo declared, brandishing Shadow Tyrant as earth-shattering blade intent erupted. With the level 5 tribulation outside, and his own full-force saber strike within, the combined assault crashed against the seal of the Blood Rune space. The great doors slowly opened with a thunderous rumble. 2 ultimate forces surged outward, slaughtering everything in their path. Even within the Blood Rune space, it seemed unlikely they could be resisted. This was what everyone was thinking at that moment. The sea of blood itself seemed to have sensed something. Within the blood-ruined space, the heavens and earth turned upside down, stirring the wind and clouds. Towering waves roared furiously, as if trying to overturn the heavens and the earth. The group suddenly felt like tiny boats drifting in this stormy sea, tossed wherever the waves desired. The force of those tides was so overwhelming it seemed capable of drowning everything. The outside heavenly tribulation, Su Zimo's blade intent, and the surging sea of blood all collided at once. Yet the anticipated explosion never came. Suddenly, silence fell all around, as if everything had been sealed in place. Even Su Zimo realized that apart from his thoughts, his body could not move at all. From within the blood sea stretched out a hand, a yellowed palm. With a slight grip, the once raging sea of blood instantly calmed down. Then that hand waved once. Heavenly tribulation vanished instantly. A second wave. Su Zimo's blade intent dissipated into nothing. Everything was restored as if nothing had ever happened. That terrifying collision from moments before had dissolved into emptiness, as though it had never existed. This, Patriarch Shuo and the others' faces changed drastically. Only they understood just how powerful that force had been. Yet it had been dispelled with such ease. The closer one was to the heavenly Tao, the more one could sense the difference in power. That saying was no lie. A Nirvana void cultivator? Chang, the blood-rune beast, said gravely. Not so simple. It's not something just anyone at Nirvana Void could do. Patriarch Shuo shook his head slightly. Their blood-rune race also had an old patriarch at Nirvana Void, but compared to that power just now, it wasn't even on the same level. It was even higher. That yellowed palm, after dissolving everything, tore apart the void before them. From it stepped out a man. The man's gaze was calm, his long black hair flowing without wind. Just by standing there, it felt as though the world's focus was drawn to him. He wore a yellow robe embroidered with flowers of unknown kind. When his gaze swept over them, everyone felt an invisible pressure. "My true God's sword," the man murmured softly. "After so many years, at last a successor has come." What is your name?" the man asked Su Zimo. "Su Zimo." Su Zimo frowned and replied, "Yes and no." The man shook his head slightly. The next moment, his expression twisted hideously. Clutching his head, he roared in pain. Within his voice was endless torment. The three blood-rune beasts instinctively retreated a few steps. Judging from the power earlier, if this man went mad, their only choice would be to flee. Fighting was impossible. Su Zimo just stared at him, trying to determine whether this was the holy progenitor himself. But unfortunately, he had never truly seen the holy progenitor. The man roared for a long while before regaining his calm. "I want to see you," he said, staring at Su Zimo. "Am I not standing right here?"
Su Zimo replied.
"No, I mean truly see you." The man shook his head, pointing skyward. "I am waiting for you up there." At this, his brows furrowed again, teeth clenched. "My time is running short. It feels like I have something to tell you, but I cannot remember what it is." "Don't rush. Take your time," Su Zimo said. "Not to be trusted, not to be trusted. None among all beings can be trusted." The man muttered, shaking his head. His face once again became calm. "You wish to release them?" he asked. "Why not?"
Su Zimo countered.
"If the blood-rune race returns to the world, are you sure you can contain them?" the man asked. "There is no second holy progenitor to step forth this time. Respected one, our blood-rune race harbors no ill intent. We only wish for freedom," Patriarch Shuo hurriedly said from the side. "This world never needed a holy progenitor. All beings have their place," Su Zimo said. "Someone will always step forward, whether holy progenitor or another. If you insist, then I will grant it," the man said with a wave of his hand. The surging sea of blood began to dissipate, the sealing power weakening bit by bit. Even the man's shadowy figure seemed affected. He looked at Su Zimo once more. "Remember this. You must never forget. I am waiting for you up there. As his words fell, the blood-ruined space shattered, and the man's figure vanished. Countless beastly roars resounded through the void, as though after endless years of waiting, the blood-ruined race could finally vent. Some even wept tears of joy, desperately breathing the air of the outside world. Keep your people in line, Su Zimo told Patriarch Shua. Remember my words. I am not as merciful as the holy progenitor. If you cross the line again, I will eradicate you and destroy your race. Beside them, Chong and Su's faces were uncertain, but Patriarch Shua simply nodded with a smile. Rest assured, respected one. As long as none oppresses us, my blood-rune race will never go too far. Heh! If your blood-rune race wishes to challenge my authority, you may try. Su Zimo glanced at them, then turned and left. The blood-rune space was gradually dissipating. His reasons for helping the blood-rune race were twofold. First, some of their actions had moved him. Second, he himself needed to leave this place. He could not remain trapped here forever. Looking upward from the land of destruction, the sky was dyed crimson. It was a rare phenomenon in this desolate land. Every creature living within that realm lifted their heads to the heavens that day. The heavens were collapsing, the seal breaking. The Lord of Destruction stood below, shaking his head with a sigh. In the end, I still could not hold it. First, a single blood-rune beast burst out from the seal. Then hordes followed, thousands upon thousands swarming forth. Put everyone on guard. The Lord of Destruction told the Thunder Martial God at his side. Without my command, no one is permitted to clash with the blood-rune beasts. This, Thunder God hesitated. City Lord, given the current situation, wouldn't it be wiser to strike first? Do as I say, the Lord of Destruction said calmly. Watching Su Zimo's departing figure, the blood-rune beast named Su snorted coldly. This brat is far too arrogant. Does he think wielding the true God sword makes him the holy progenitor? Patriarch, why did you? Chong, the blood-rune beast, asked in confusion. Patriarch Shua narrowed his eyes. Do you think that boy looks like a fool? Chapter 968. Watch his tower collapse. How is this possible, Patriarch? What do you mean? Asked Su of the blood-rune race. If he isn't a fool, then how does he dare to release us? Patriarch Shua countered. So is he the fool, or are we the fools? Patriarch, are you saying he has some trump card to not fear us? Asked Chong of the blood-rune race. Whether he has a trump card, I don't know. But what I do know is, we no longer have the capital to gamble, said Patriarch Shua. I don't know how much ambition the two of you have, but believe me, what the clansmen crave now is freedom. Nothing more. And besides, this is no longer the legendary era. What era is it now? What changes has the continent gone through? We know nothing. If the blood-rune race were to be exterminated again because of my poor decisions, I would not want to bear that eternal crime. With that, Patriarch Shua sighed. The ship of a new era has already set sail, but where should we, people of the old era, go? Hearing the Patriarch's words, the two fell into silence. Though still somewhat unwilling, they had to admit this era was unfamiliar to them. Let the clansmen behave themselves. Everything will be done gradually, Patriarch Shua said. The blood-rune race rushed out of the seal, but they didn't make excessive moves. Su Zimo found Han Yenro and the Han brothers. He told them the whole truth, that the world they had been living in was nothing more than a kind lie. Compared to the Han brothers' disbelief, Han Yenro appeared much calmer. From now on, in this world, you won't be mocked, and there will be many people willing to be your friends. Su Zimo smiled. Because we are all the same, we're human. In the blood-rune space, he had taken the form of a blood beast. Now, this was his true appearance. Han Yenro looked at him, pressed her lips together, and shook her head. I don't care about mockery or how many friends I have. I only want to stay by your side. You should understand, I don't have much time to linger, Su Zimo said. I will go to the outer heavens, even higher realms beyond. There will be more enemies waiting for me. And you're not suited to be by my side. Seeing Han Yenro bow her head in silence, Su Zimo handed her his identity token. Take this token to the true martial sacred ground on the eastern continent. That is my home, and it can be yours too. If one day I become as strong as you, no longer dragging you down, then can I be with you? Han Yenro suddenly lifted her head and asked. Su Zimo smiled slightly and nodded, because he knew that was impossible. Very well, I'll go to the true martial sacred ground, Han Yenro said as she took the token, then asked, And you? I'll return in a while, Su Zimo said, lifting his gaze to the distant horizon. Some matters, some debts must be settled. What must end should end. Those who should die quickly. Su Zimo went to see the Lord of Destruction and explained in detail what had happened inside the Blood Rune space. He didn't know whose orders the Lord of Destruction was following to guard the lands. Most likely it was the Holy Progenitors. Enough, enough. Now I, too, can consider myself free. The Lord of Destruction chuckled. Su Zimo asked him to send people to escort Han Yenro to the true martial sacred ground, and the Lord of Destruction did not refuse. Su Zimo then prepared to bid farewell to Ji Ruobing. But just as he turned around, he saw the girl Jing in thin clothes, standing in the autumn wind, smiling at him. Young Master Su, it's been a few days. Have you missed me? Jing smiled sweetly, dimples showing. I still have things to do. Let's talk later, Su Zimo said with a smile, ready to leave. I have a few big pieces of news about you, young Master Su. Want to hear them? Jing asked with a smile. Su Zimo paused, looking at her suspiciously. This time, Jing didn't jest, but said directly, 7 days ago, on the eastern continent, the Blood Nether Sacred Ground's Sacred Lord, Xue Qinhe, suddenly announced, Grand Emperor Xue Ming came to him in a dream, saying that Su Zimo, holy son of the true martial sacred ground, is a heinous demon who must be eliminated quickly. 6 days ago, the Western Continent's Supreme Unity Sacred Ground and God Wind Sacred Ground also spoke out, saying, to bring peace to the world, the demon must be slain. 5 days ago, among the 36 empires of the Northern Continent, 12 empires allied, claiming their ancestors appeared in dreams, saying the ancient demon confuses the stars and brings chaos to the world. 4 days ago, in the Southern Continent's little bright sacred ground, a poem was spread. Cut off the devil's head, spare the birth of devil's form. Frost blade slays the devil, all becomes pure land. 3 days ago, on the Eastern Continent, the Bailey Imperial clan, one Bailey Shao, a woman, claimed to be the first disciple of the Grand Empress Hongtian. Rumor says the Grand Empress gave a decree. Slay the ancient demon, protect the heavenly Tao. 2 days ago, the holy son of the immortal extinction's sacred ground, Lu Chonghen, declared he was willing to take the lead, to unite everyone and restore the world to clarity. Now the 5 continents are more united than ever. You'd best be careful. You tell me. Many of these people have no grudges with me. Some don't even know me. So why are they all so eager to jump out now?
Su Zimo Lauget?
Lady Jing smiled faintly, pointing at the heavens above, and said meaningfully, Heaven's will is about to take shape. A poem just came to mind. Su Zimo smiled. What is it? Jing asked. See him build his tall tower. See him feast his guests. See his tower collapse.
Su Zimo Grin.
They let me be proud for so long. And now, just one step from heaven's will, they want to tear down my tower. So what will you do next? Jing asked. Seclude myself, return to the sacred ground, and then kill them all, Su Zimo said with a smile. Things have come to this, and you're still so calm? Jing pouted in mock blame. What else can I do? Fly into a rage? Tremble with fear?
Su Zimo Lauget?
Would that make them stop targeting me? Jing rolled her eyes at him, then said softly, Remember, no matter what, I stand by your side. MHM.
Thanks, Su Zimo smile.
Whatever her true intentions, the fact that she told him these insider messages was already good enough. After parting with Jing, Su Zimo found Ji Ruobing. Where are you going? Ji Ruobing asked. I'll be in seclusion for a while, Su Zimo replied. The 10 primordial god scriptures he obtained in the ancient celestial court needed time to be digested. Then I'll protect you, Ji Ruobing said. No need. You should return to the immortal extinction sacred ground soon. Su Zimo refused. You don't appreciate kindness? Ji Ruobing huffed in dissatisfaction. The current situation is more complicated than you think. Su Zimo smiled. I need time alone. Chapter 969, The Will of All Beings, Here to Slay Demons. Ji Ruobing seemed to sense Su Zimo's seriousness and stopped joking like usual. Then I'll wait for you at the lineage. If anything happens, you can always find me, Ji Ruobing said. Su Zimo nodded slightly. By the way, be careful of that holy son in your lineage. Don't worry. I fought with him for a long time, and neither of us has won. Ji Ruobing smiled. Su Zimo nodded again. He felt a bit weary of conversation, so he rode the Dark Sky Tiger and slowly left the City of Destruction. Leaning against the Dark Sky Tiger's back, he gazed up at the sky above. The sky of this land of destruction was always black. Back then, was the ancient demon race also facing such a scene?
Su Zimo chukka sopti.
The whole world against them. He didn't quite understand. So many imperial lineages and ancient races, those with grudges against him he could understand, but most he didn't even know. Whether or not their ancestors really gave them dreams, he didn't know, but at this point it no longer mattered. Heaven's will was close at hand, and they didn't want him to touch it, so they wanted him dead before that. Or perhaps, once he carried heaven's will itself, no matter what they wanted, they would no longer be his match. That meant this period was the final chance. And the best timing. The mortal world is like drifting duckweed, and we are all but ants. Su Zimo murmured to himself. The Dark Sky Tiger walked lightly, carrying him as he sought only a quiet place to cultivate. The entire world was itching to kill him. Factions were stirring in the shadows, some even proposing to pressure true martial sacred ground to hand Su Zimo over. Yet, the one at the center of all this suddenly vanished without a trace. As if he had disappeared. Not a shadow, not a sound. The whole world had the feel of a storm about to break. Heaven and earth manifest, the body follows the heavens, the head is the sky, the belly the earth. Even the ancient sages were no more than this. In the dark abyss, a figure shifted endlessly. All kinds of godly powers took form at his fingertips. His body sometimes grew to 10,000 feet, shaking heaven and earth. Other times, space-time rippled, a finger creating and destroying, swallowing and binding, yin and yang twisting, the heavenly Tao collapsing. Heaven and earth seemed to teeter on the edge of ruin. The figure grew blurry, swallowed and released by darkness. Eastern continent, Western region. The city of fallen Phoenix had a simple origin. It was said that long ago a divine phoenix once descended here, crying 3 times as if seeking its mate. A city was later built, taking the phoenix as its totem. Its history was long. Inside fallen Phoenix City, "Waiter, bring wine," a crisp voice called. A young man carrying a blade sat by the window facing the street. Su Zimo sat quietly, watching the bustling, lively street outside. From the land of destruction he hadn't hurried. Walking calmly for over a month, he finally reached the western region. He wondered how his lineage was now. "Sir, your wine." The waiter placed a jug on the table, waiting for instructions. "Waiter, let me ask you something," Su Zimo said. "Please, sir." The waiter nodded. "Lately here, has anything major happened?" Su Zimo asked. "No big events." The waiter shook his head slightly, then added, "But recently a group called the Demon Slaying Alliance has been making a lot of noise, claiming they'll destroy demons and such." "And what do you think?" Su Zimo asked. "What's it got to do with me?" The waiter laughed. "All I want is for business to be better, so the boss pays me more. That way I can provide a good life to my wife and kids." Hearing this, Su Zimo nodded slightly. Yes, for ordinary people in this great era, their desires are simple. They don't care about immortals, gods, emperors or demons. Even if the sky collapses, so what? They care about themselves, about their small plot of land. Those in power, to satisfy their own desires, always like to drag the world into things, standing on the moral high ground. "Sir, are you all right?" the waiter asked doubtfully. "Tell me, do you know the difference between good and bad people?"
Su Yi Mo Smai.
The waiter thought a moment, then said, "Good people are kind at heart. Bad people commit every evil." "That's right and not right," Su Zimo replied. "Besides beasts who've lost all humanity, and the truly selfless sages, most people fall into two kinds. Those who kill under the banner of righteousness, and those who kill without pretense." "Sir, I don't really understand your words." The waiter shook his head. Su Zimo laughed loudly, drained the wine jug in one go, then left behind a cultivation manual and dozens of spirit stones, walking out without looking back. "Take these for your children's cultivation." "Sir," the waiter called, but Su Zimo's figure was already gone. Since ancient times, what joy is there in life? To steal half a day of leisure and happiness in this fleeting world. What is better than that? Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, autumn gave way to winter. Su Zimo warmed himself with a jug of wine, then left Fallen Phoenix City, heading toward true martial sacred ground. Fallen Phoenix City wasn't far. Half a day's travel brought him there. On the ancient path outside the sect, immortal trees of great age stood tall. These trees had been planted long ago by Grand Emperor Sandao before going to war. Neither snow nor blazing sun could affect them. The immortal flowers on them always bloomed, crimson like blood soaking a blade, trembling faintly. Snow drifted along the ancient path, silence deep. In the distance, the mountains of true martial sacred ground loomed, covered in snow and mist, like celestial peaks. Snow piled thick underfoot, mingling with immortal flowers, the flowers again buried by snow. Su Zimo stopped on the ancient path. Ahead, at some unknown moment, a figure had appeared. Cold wind cut like knives. "I've been waiting for you a long time." The figure raised his head and said calmly. He wore a scholar's robe and held a gentleman's sword. His brows radiated uprightness, his eyes clear. "Waiting for me, why?" Su Zimo asked. "I am Lu Gongjin of the southern continent. I've come to slay demons and destroy evil." The man in scholar's robes declared with righteousness. "If I truly am a demon, and you truly are a man of justice, then I am willing not to fight back and let you slay me," Su Zimo said. "But you must wait a moment." "Very well," Lu Gongjin nodded, waiting quietly. He didn't ask why. There was no need. Su Zimo slowly closed his eyes. His soul entered the world of true fate, controlling the primordial chaos bead, stepping into the river of fate of the primordial heartlands. He began to examine Lu Gongjin's river of fate. Time ticked away. Snow from the heavens buried him whole, until he seemed like a proud ice statue standing tall. Chapter 970, A Gentleman is Open and Upright. After a long time, Su Zimo opened his eyes. A stream of white breath exhaled from his mouth. The sound of cracking followed, and the ice sculpture that had encased him shattered instantly. Lu Gongjin, a man of the Lu clan village from the southern continent. In his youth, he became a disciple under the profound Heaven Venerable, cultivating for 3,000 years. At the age of 18, you went down the mountain with your senior brother. You encountered a fierce beast, a flying eagle. Your senior brother fought the eagle to protect you, yet you coveted the seat of personal disciple. When your senior brother was finally killed, you returned to the sect with the news, and as you wished, you became the personal disciple. Upon hearing Su Zimo's words, Lu Gongjin's expression changed slightly. "How do you know this?" Su Zimo ignored him, continuing at his own pace. "At 23, you fell in love with a senior sister. To win her heart, you slaughtered an entire small sect, ultimately obtaining their sect's treasure, the Jade Glass Emerald Heart. That was nothing but youthful ignorance and recklessness." Lu Gongjin tried to justify himself. "At 300 years of age, In order to break through to the God Meridian realm, you betrayed your closest friend, trading his head for a breaking realm pill. Su Zimo went on without pause. Enough silence. Lu Gongjin took a deep breath, his pupils contracting as he looked at Su Zimo in shock. These were all matters of his past that he never wanted brought up again. Anyone who rose to become strong, who among them did not have blood on their hands, who never resorted to disgraceful means. After you turned 500, you did become much steadier. But still you craved reputation, cultivating a grand righteous aura, playing at the role of chivalry and justice. Yet the acts of chivalry you performed were always highly visible, known to all. For those of lesser consequence, you never even bothered to look. A typical case of failing to sweep your own house, yet claiming to cleanse the world. Nonsense, Lu Gongjin snorted coldly. His face darkened as he said, "Our sect's chivalrous path needs no pointing fingers from the likes of you, demon. I have never denied being a demon, but when will people like you, who always wave the banner of righteousness, dare to admit the truth?" Su Zimo smiled. "Enough talk. Once I capture you, everything will become clear," Lu Gongjin said coldly. His aura surged, righteous energy billowing forth. At his waist, the gentleman's sword was unsheathed, slashing toward Su Zimo. Snow beneath their feet, the immortal flowers danced in the air, swirling in the void. Su Zimo clenched his fist as a weapon, throwing a punch forward. From his fist burst the Tao of strength. The booming sound of the void exploding rang out. The might of that single punch was terrifying beyond compare. As fist and sword clashed, the gentleman's sword bent under the force. Yet its resilience was great. Though bent to its limit, it still did not break. Evil pollutes the world. Corrupted cultivators infest mankind. My righteous might shall cut down injustice, and declare to all what is improper. Lu Gongjin's aura grew ever more intense. From his mouth, he expelled true essence, as 10,000 clouds of auspicious light surrounded him. His righteous might shot to the heavens, the gentleman's sword whistled, slashing down. The path of cultivation is hard, harder than ascending to the heavens, harder still to understand human nature, to awaken the true heart. Su Zimo sneered. "You cannot even face your own heart. What path are you cultivating? What injustice are you cutting down?" From his fist, spirit force surged like a colossal warship breaking through all drifting, fragile boats in its way. "Kneel before me, Su Yi Mo Rao." The long sword wailed as the force smashed Lu Gongjin to the ground. Lu Gongjin felt overwhelming tides crashing through his body. His meridians, his organs, everything within him shattered. His mind went blank, numbness spreading through him. His body knelt into the snow, his head crashing lifelessly to the ground. His pupils unfocused, the only thing visible being his gentleman's sword lying before his eyes. "A gentleman is open and upright. A petty man is ever fretful," Su Zimo chuckled. "You, with your kind of character, dared to name your blade gentleman's sword? What a pathetic joke." He stepped over Lu Gongjin's corpse, snow swiftly covering the blood. The cold body lay buried in ice. Halfway along, Su Zimo suddenly stopped. Grinning toward the void, he said lightly, "Hey, remember to collect his body." "Oh?" Only after his figure disappeared into the endless snow did several black-robed figures step out of the void. "My lord, this..." The figure on the left hesitated. "Report back," the one on the right said calmly. "Yes, and the body? Feed it to the dogs." Back at the sect, Su Zimo felt somewhat disinterested. The disciples guarding the gate did not stop him. He went straight toward Green Mountain. No matter what, since he had returned, he wanted to first greet his parents. Su Qingshan was seated by the stream at the mountain's summit, seemingly cultivating. When he saw Su Zimo approach, he opened his eyes, a flash of brilliance shining within them. "You're back," Su Qingshan said. "Yes," Su Zimo nodded. "Where's my mother?" "She returned to your grandfather's home," Su Qingshan replied. "Was your journey safe?" "Nothing much happened," Su Zimo smiled. Since you're back, take a good rest, Su Qingshan said. For anything, you have your father.
Su Zimo nốt đét.
He neither agreed nor refused. Then I'll go rest, Su Zimo said. Go, Su Qingshan waved. Father and son, in tacit understanding, did not bring up the storm of events that had recently occurred. Little Gui had never returned since leaving to temper himself. But Lin Ruhu had come back to the sect, now standing as one of the pillars of the younger generation. When Su Zimo returned to his residence at South Goose Mountain, the two maids, Xiaqiu and Chun Xiang, were just as they had been when he left, still tending the courtyard. Everything was spotless. Young master, you've had a hard journey, Xiaqiu smiled in greeting. Come, serve your young master in a bath, Su Zimo laughed. Oh! The sky above true martial sacred ground was bright blue. Though the outside world was deep in winter with snow filling the land, within the sect it was forever spring. The wind was gentle, brushing softly across his face. Su Zimo lounged on a recliner, enjoying the breeze, utterly at leisure. Bro! Lin Ruhu's booming voice called from afar. Long unseen, he had grown more robust, more imposing. His short hair, his darkened skin, perhaps due to the celestial tiger tyrant physique, gave him the look of a fierce beast. Long time no see, Ruhu, Su Zimo smiled. How can you still lie here? Do you not know how chaotic things are outside? Lin Ruhu asked anxiously. Meals must be eaten one bite at a time. Matters must be dealt with one by one. Why rush?
Su Zimo rip lít lai ti.
Then help me with something. What is it? Lin Ruhu asked quickly. Deliver a challenge to the Bailey Imperial clan. Tell them that in 7 days, I'll come to take Bailey Zhao's head. Chapter 971. This lineage never changes. Heaven Shadow Stone. Hearing Su Zimo's words, Lin Ruhu nodded heavily. That Bailey Zhao, I've long found her an eyesore. These past days in the Eastern continent, she's been acting recklessly, even wanting to form some so-called demon-slaying alliance, Lin Ruhu said angrily. I heard Grand Empress Hongtian issued a decree. Is that true? Su Zimo asked. Lin Ruhu was silent for a moment, then finally said, I heard it. Just a rumor. The Empress did issue a decree, but it wasn't about capturing you. Instead, it told the Sacred Ground not to get involved in this matter. What about the Sacred Lord then? Su Zimo asked. I'm not too sure. The Sacred Lord hasn't spoken clearly, Lin Ruhu replied. Grandfather said, the Sacred Lord's thoughts are the deepest of all. Until the very last moment, no one can guess them. After all, a single word from him affects the future of the true martial sacred ground. He can't be careless. That's understandable, Su Zimo said with a smile. I never thought of relying on the sacred ground anyway. With things blowing up this big, what are you planning to do? Lin Ruhu asked. I haven't thought that much. Just with the blade in my hand, whoever blocks my path, I'll cut them down, Su Zimo said with a smile. Good. Then we brothers together will stir this world upside down. Lin Ruhu laughed. Your grandfather probably doesn't want you getting involved in this, right? Su Zimo asked. He can't make my decisions, Lin Ruhu muttered. You rest here a few days first. I'll go gather more information about what's happening outside. After Lin Ruhu left, Su Zimo's life grew quiet again. He slept an entire day. Early the next morning, a disciple came to report that Sacred Lord Zhao wanted to see him. Su Zimo yawned, straightened his robes a little, and walked toward the island where Sacred Lord Zhao resided. The island floated in mid-air, with green waters and lush forests. Su Zimo walked all the way, coming once more to the same bridge where he had last met him. Sacred Lord Zhao was dressed in pure white robes, far more formal than usual. The hem of his robe fluttered though there was no wind. By the riverside he was sharpening a sword, stroke by stroke. Long time no see. Sacred Lord Zhao looked toward Su Zimo and smiled. Yes, it has been quite some time. Su Zimo nodded slightly. May I ask what the Sacred Lord seeks of me? To reminisce, Sacred Lord Zhao smiled. And besides, with such a major matter happening, don't pretend as if nothing's wrong. And the Sacred Lord's meaning is? Su Zimo asked. You should be able to understand the difficulties of the sacred ground. Sacred Lord Shao paused for a moment before finally sighing softly. I understand. Everything for the sake of the sacred ground, Su Zimo said with a smile. If one day the sacred ground's decision is not to your liking, don't blame me or the sacred ground. Sacred Lord Shao continued. I don't want the situation to escalate further either. So Sacred Lord called me here to ease my heart?
Su Zimo loget alao.
There are some things I should tell you. I think you've already heard, Sacred Lord Shao said. The Grand Empress's decree is indeed real. Many elders of the sacred ground hold a unified opinion. They choose to maintain a wait-and-see attitude on this matter. All right then, if there's nothing else, I'll head back. Su Zimo waved his hand. He was too lazy to waste words with Sacred Lord Shao. His return to the sacred ground had been just to enjoy some peace. My meaning is this. If you stay within the sacred ground will exhaust its strength to protect you, until you bear the heaven's will. But if you leave the sacred ground, then the sacred ground may be powerless to help, Sacred Lord Shao said. You know well, this time the imperial lineages involved are not few. Think carefully for yourself. Then many thanks to Sacred Lord Shao. Su Zimo nodded and walked out of the island. Sacred Lord Shao truly had done his utmost, giving him a choice, and giving the sacred ground itself a chance to wager on him. Halfway across the bridge, Su Zimo suddenly stopped. Turning back with a smile, he said, Sacred Lord Shao, this true martial sacred ground really hasn't changed for 10,000 years. His words carried some lament, with hidden meaning. But Sacred Lord Zhao's eyes narrowed, deep in thought. Not long after returning to South Goose Mountain, Lin Ruhu came again. He looked at Su Zimo, hesitating to speak. If you've got something to say, then say it. The sky's not going to collapse, Su Zimo said with a smile. Uncle Su resigned from his position as Vice Lord, Lin Ruhu said. Oh, Su Zimo frowned slightly. I heard that today, during the Sacred Grounds High Council meeting, Uncle Su had a big quarrel with several elders, Lin Ruhu said carefully. In the end, he resigned from the Vice Lord's seat. My father. Su Zimo was stunned for a moment, then suddenly understood, thinking inwardly. Still the same personality as in the past life. Although Su Qingshan appeared calm before him, never even mentioning it, when it came to taking action, he never hesitated. Anything else? Su Zimo looked at Lin Ruhu and asked. I already sent the battle challenge to Bailey Shao, but she doesn't seem to care, Lin Ruhu said. And I also heard the Bailey Imperial clan is about to hold some Demon-Slaying Alliance assembly. Basically, to elect the leader of the Demon-Slaying Alliance. Interesting, Su Zimo smiled. These grasshoppers seem to be getting fonder of hopping around. Ruhu, do you know why they're targeting me at this time? Su Zimo asked. They fear you will bear the heaven's will, Lin Ruhu replied. Exactly. They're afraid that once I bear the heaven's will, I'll already be invincible. Even if they unite, they'll still just be a rabble. Su Zimo smiled. But they don't understand one thing. Even without the heaven's will, I am invincible. I believe in you, Brother Zimo. Lin Ruhu nodded heavily. When we go to the Bailey Imperial clan, make yourself a battle outfit. Handsome, imposing, Su Zimo said with a smile. Your aura has to be overwhelming. All right? Lin Ruhu nodded heavily. Then he left, not disturbing Su Zimo's rest. Time quickly passed, and 5 days later, Su Zimo rose from his lounge chair, stretching lazily. Patting his purple robe, he sighed. This outfit should be changed. Leaving South Goose Mountain, he went straight to the Pavilion of Rare Treasures. This was where the true martial sacred ground collected rare treasures. Though not as vast as the myriad treasures tower of Heavenly Tao Academy, it was still absolutely a forbidden place. As the Holy Sun, Su Zimo naturally had the qualification to enter. The Holy Sun may claim one item each year, the elder in charge of the pavilion said flatly as he looked at Su Zimo. Help me find a heaven shadow stone. I remember the sacred ground should have one of those, Su Zimo said. He sat down on a chair to wait. The elder searched inside the pavilion for about 3 minutes. At last, he placed a box in front of Su Zimo. This was obtained from the cave mansion of an ancient powerhouse.
Chapter 972 Slay Belishiao, Trempe le Demon Slaying Alliance.
After appraisal, it should be the Heaven Shadow Stone. But the box has not been opened, and the integrity of the crystal stone cannot be guaranteed. Do you still want to claim it? Give it to me. Su Zimo took the box. The old man then began recording it down. Leaving the rare treasures pavilion, Su Zimo lowered his head to glance at the box in his hand. The box was white, nothing particularly special. Only the crystal stone inside, a transparent 9-faceted shape, had mysterious power surging within. He brought the Heaven Shadow Stone back to South Goose Mountain, then took out a massive crystal chest. Inside the crystal chest lay a battle robe. Su Zimo stretched out his right hand, gently stroking the chest. After a long while, he finally placed the Heaven Shadow Stone into the indented part of the crystal chest. At once, a rainbow-like light flashed, and the crystal chest began to dissolve at a speed visible to the naked eye. As the chest dissolved, the battle robe's infernal aura surged to the skies. The battle robe was entirely black-purple, of gilt quality, with black-purple stripes flickering constantly. On the high collar were embroidered several grim, ferocious faces, each with distinct features. Other places were covered in demonic seals. The cape behind the robe was blood-red, faintly imprinted with the figure of a demonic throne. At the moment the crystal chest melted away, the battle robe soared into the sky, rushing directly towards Su Zimo. At the instant it touched his body, Su Zimo only felt a warm power surging through him. The demonic robe automatically fitted itself onto him, and the demonic energy within his body instantly erupted. Even his hell-suppressing demon physique faintly showed signs of being activated. Within his meridians, spirit force transformed into infernal energy, gilt black-purple stripes flowing. The red cape whipped violently with the fierce wind. Su Zimo stood atop South Goose Mountain. His long hair flowed, his eyes pitch-black. Infernal energy mingled with the meaning of the Grand Tao, as if spanning across antiquity. Through endless distance, his gaze fell into Bailey City. Behind him, his new shadow tyrant trembled, seemingly excited, begging to join the battle. Su Zimo felt that at this moment, what he lacked most was just a background soundtrack. With a wave of his right hand, a colossal figure of chaos emerged from the void. Boundless immortal might reverberated in the heavens above. Now chaos had long stepped into the zenith immortal realm. With the Grand Tao laid before it to comprehend, even the dullest person would achieve no small accomplishments. Boss? Chaos looked at Su Zimo and spoke. To Bailey City, Su Zimo stepped into the sky, standing atop Chaos's head, his tone calm. As you command, Chaos roared, leaping down from South Goose Mountain. Say, among the younger generation of true martial sacred ground, who is the strongest? A few new disciples sat together, discussing curiously. Among the younger generation, of course, it's the Holy Sun. Otherwise, he wouldn't have become Holy Sun. Someone beside them replied. But the Holy Sun hasn't returned for a long time. I've been here so long and have never seen him. The previous speaker questioned. Besides, recently, the reputation of our Holy Sun hasn't been good. People are clamoring to crusade against him. Right, I feel lately there have been many more people near the sect. Every time I return, it's as if countless eyes are watching us. The sect has many powerhouses. For us, sitting frogs at the bottom of a well, it's unimaginable. Just as they were chatting idly, suddenly a loud boom exploded not far away. The sound was so loud it nearly burst their eardrums. Even the aftershock of the explosion almost blew them away. What kind of monster is this? Someone looked at Chaos and shouted. Could someone be attacking my true martial sacred ground? Don't joke. What force would dare be so bold? Look, On that monster's head. There's someone. Someone shouted, and immediately everyone looked up. A man in black robes, crimson cape as red as blood, his body shrouded in demonic clouds, stood there. Where is Ruhu? Su Zimo called out lightly. Here, Lin Ruhu also shouted, stepping into the air from not far away. His battle robe was primarily blue, with black accents, the chest patterned like dragon scales, glowing with azure light. Especially on his arms, Scarlet Eagle shoulder armor covered them, and a massive tiger head gleamed at his collar. Tiger stripes circled around the tiger head armor. The Scarlet Eagle matched with blue light, his waist bound with the silken barbarian treasure belt. He stepped into the air, arriving before chaos. Where is your dark sky tiger? Su Zimo asked. He remembered when he and Lin Ruhu each took a dark sky tiger, naming them Situ Godan and Zhuge Chui Hua. Time had flown, and in a blink those days had long passed. As soon as Su Zimo finished speaking, a beastly roar echoed. The colossal body of the dark sky tiger arrived with blood and wind. Its massive pupils stared darkly at Lin Ruhu. Lin Ruhu leapt onto its back, laughing loudly. Today, you and I fight side by side. We'll flatten Bailey City and to hell with the demon-slaying alliance. Take Bailey Zhao's head and use it as a wine cup. The two beasts stood on either side, soaring toward Bailey City. As they passed the gates of true martial Sacred Ground Shao in white robes, his sword singing across the seas, called out loudly, Holy Sun, what is your purpose? To slay Bailey, to trample the demon-slaying alliance. Su Zimo answered loudly. And if you never return? Then I never return. The two massive beast silhouettes gradually disappeared on the horizon, leaving only the sound of their hearty laughter. The joys and sorrows of life, revenge and righteousness, nothing more than this, nothing more. Sigh! Sacred Lord Shao exhaled softly. Why does the Sacred Lord sigh? An old voice sounded nearby. The figure of the third Grand Elder slowly walked over. I had no reason to keep him, Sacred Lord Shao said. Why keep him? The third Elder countered. You let your grandson go with him. Isn't that supporting his choice? Sacred Lord Shao asked. I told Ruhu not to get involved. I said, after some years, I'd give him my position as third Grand Elder. By then, anything he wanted would be within reach. The third Elder chuckled. Do you know how he replied? How? He said I'm old, that I can't understand this world. True martial sacred ground has been peaceful for 100,000 years. We've only been living under the shade of our ancestors, sitting on mountains waiting for death. The third Elder wasn't angry, only chuckled. He also said, as a man in this world, one must have boundless ambition, to stand atop the world, to see scenery others cannot. Otherwise, life is too cowardly, too dull. As for life and death, let it be. The third Elder played with a sword in his hands and continued smiling. This sword, if it never leaves its sheath, whether it's a treasured sword or divine sword, it's still just a sword. But once unsheathed, blood splattering 3 feet, dying millions of lives, anyone who sees it must avoid it.
Chapter 973, Black và White Asurat.
The last time Bailey City had been this lively was during the day of the Martial Heaven tournament. But now everything had changed, and undercurrents surged through the entire city. People from every continent and every power had gathered here. According to the Demon-Slaying Alliance, no matter one's identity or faction, as long as one was willing to exterminate the demonic race, they could participate in this demon-slaying assembly. As for the position of alliance leader, that would depend on strength alone. Su Zimo and Lin Ruhu arrived at Bailey City and put away Chaos and the Dark Sky Tiger. Brother Zimo, won't we be too obvious if we go in like this? Lin Ruhu asked. After all, the whole demon-slaying alliance had been formed against Su Zimo. Now, for him to walk straight in so brazenly was indeed too conspicuous. Go buy 2 masks and we'll wear them. There's no rush. I'm curious to see what this demon-slaying assembly is like, Su Zimo said. Also, find out which major factions are here this time. Got it. Lin Ruhu nodded. He entered the city and bought 2 Azura masks. One black, one white, both fierce and domineering. Su Zimo wore the white one, then followed him into the city. Perhaps because so many people had gathered here, even the street vendors had multiplied. Shouts of hawking mixed with the aromas of all kinds of food filled the air. The demon-slaying assembly begins tomorrow. Let's find a place to rest first, Lin Ruhu suggested. Go to a busy tavern. It'll be easier to gather information. Su Zimo nodded, not refusing. He had been to Bailey City once before during the Martial Heaven tournament, but he hadn't paid much attention to the city itself. On the other hand, Lin Ruhu knew this place far better. Under his lead, the two arrived at a towering tavern. It was called the Star-Plucking Tower. Su Zimo looked up and couldn't see the top in a single glance. The building was grand and magnificent, majestic and imposing. This is the most famous tavern in Bailey City. It has 33 floors, known as the 33 Heavens, Lin Ruhu explained. They say its name, Star-Plucking, comes from Grand Emperor Chong Kong. Legend has it that when he was young, he once stood on the top floor of this pavilion. One night, a meteor fell, and with one reach of his hand, a star landed in his palm. Thus came the name Star-Plucking. Nonsense. This tavern just likes to brag about itself. Su Zimo laughed. The stars are millions of miles away. Though they look like specks from afar, each one is unimaginably massive. A single star could destroy all of Bailey City. When Bailey Chong Kong was still young and not yet an emperor, how could he pluck a star with his hand? That I don't know, Lin Ruhu chuckled. That's just how the story goes. The two came to the pavilion's entrance. The great doors were equally grand, refined from 5 elemental metals, with green and red windows and carvings of exotic beasts. The signboard bore the words, Star-Plucking, forged from star crystal, glittering magnificently, almost as if it were about to hang 2 galaxies from it. 2 women in red robes, figures graceful and flawless, stood welcoming guests on either side of the entrance. These days were the most important for Bailey City, so even the tavern's manager had come out personally to receive guests. Let's go in and take a look, Su Zimo smiled. But as the two approached, the manager stopped them. What's the meaning of this? Lin Ruhu frowned. Wearing the black Azura mask, matched with his burly frame, he exuded quite an intimidating aura. Honored guests, our Star-Plucking Tower has been reserved by the Bailey Imperial Clan. We only receive those attending the demon-slaying assembly, the manager said politely. My brother and I are here to attend the assembly. What of it? Lin Ruhu replied. Not everyone has the qualifications to participate. May I ask what names you go by? The manager asked. When we, the Black and White Azura, roamed the continent in our prime, you didn't even exist yet. And now you dare question us. Lin Ruhu seized the man by the collar and growled fiercely. Since they were here to stir trouble anyway, he wasn't planning to be polite. A tavern of such scale in Bailey City couldn't possibly have no connection to the Bailey Imperial Clan. The manager's expression changed, but before he could speak, a scornful laugh came from inside the pavilion. 2 nobodies who don't even look around before causing trouble here. I advise you to apologize to the manager. Who's talking? Lin Ruhu lifted his head, his tiger eyes glaring coldly. He looked into the spacious interior where countless people sat. The speaker was a young man seated at one of the tables, enjoying tea with an elder. Whose dog is this, barking without restraint? Lin Ruhu sneered. With a bang, the teacup in the youth's hand shattered. He glared at Lin Ruhu angrily and said, Watch your mouth, boy. What? Did I say something wrong? Lin Ruhu retorted. I was talking with the manager. What business is it of yours? Meddling fool. Do you even know who I am? The youth stood up. He wore a white robe, his features carrying a touch of effeminacy. A faint aura of pressure emanated from his eyes. Don't tell me you're a eunuch? Lin Ruhu guessed. This brother. Someone nearby laughed and explained. He is Zhang Shihao, holy son of the heavenly chicken sect. It was clear that this person also had status. Most of the crowd watched with amusement. After all, anyone who could dine in the star-plucking tower had seen their fair share of scenes. Beastly sect, Lin Ruhu said in surprise. People still use names like that these days? Forget it. Forget it. How could one stoop to reason with livestock? Zhang Shihao slammed the table, releasing a burst of pressure, gritting his teeth as he glared at Lin Ruhu. At that tense moment, a chuckle sounded from beside him. It was the elder seated at the same table. Shihao, I've taught you often. Your cultivation is sufficient, but your Dao heart is still lacking, the elder said with a smile. How could you be provoked by a few mere words? Master's teachings are correct, Zhang Shihao quickly replied with respect. Since this friend has never heard of our heavenly chicken sect, then go and enlighten him, the elder said with satisfaction. Make sure he remembers well. Yes, master, Zhang Shihao replied. He turned toward Lin Ruhu, snorting coldly. You heard him. Do you dare accept my challenge? Just you. Lin Ruhu sneered with disdain. Indeed, he looked down on Zhang Shihao. After all, he had grown up in the true martial sacred ground. Chapter 974, 12 Imperial Lineages. To grow up within such a colossal superpower, plus being nurtured by the resources of his grandfather, how could someone like Zhang Shihao even compare? Although he had never heard of the Heavenly Chicken Sect, just from the name, it was clear it wasn't anything remarkable. If they were truly noble guests, they would have stayed directly in the Bailey Mansion. Only because the Bailey Mansion was already full were some others assigned to live in the star-plucking tower. Perhaps it was because of his celestial tiger tyrant physique, coupled with the Azura mask, that Lin Ruhu's aura was overflowing with killing intent. Zhang Shihao's right hand transformed into an eagle's claw, his left hand shaped like a tiger's paw, and with aggressive momentum he lunged at Lin Ruhu. Lin Ruhu only let out a disdainful cold snort. He charged forward, his fist smashing toward Zhang Shihao's head with the intent of cracking it open. A flicker of surprise flashed through Zhang Shihao's eyes. Feeling the fierce gale rushing in with the fist, he hurriedly dodged to the side. But Lin Ruhu was too fast. The spirit force in his body surged like raging waves, and the roar of a tiger thundered in the air. His right hand suddenly erupted with a massive tiger imprint, swift as lightning, seizing hold of Zhang Shihao. Those hands were like iron claws, sinking deep into Zhang Shihao's flesh. Ah! A miserable scream rang out. What are you screaming for? This is only the beginning, Lin Ruhu coldly said. With the force of a single punch, Zhang Shihao's body was sent flying backwards, blood gushing out from his mouth in torrents. Lin Ruhu clenched his fists with audible cracks, step by step walking toward Zhang Shihao. His burly figure carried faintly the imposing might of a king of beasts. Master, save me! Zhang Shihao cried out as he spat blood. Lin Ruhu only grinned savagely, ignoring everything else. He arrived in front of Zhang Shihao, lifted his right foot, and stomped heavily toward his limbs. The old man from before had a flash of sharp light in his eyes, his figure quickly rushing toward Lin Ruhu. But fast as he was, someone was even faster. Su Zimo's figure appeared instantly in front of him, meeting his strike palm to palm. Su Zimo stood unmoved, while the old man was forced back more than 3 steps. The difference in strength was clear. If you want to play, I'll play with you, Su Zimo said with a smile. A flicker of apprehension crossed the old man's eyes as he replied. My lord, perhaps this is only a misunderstanding. There's no need to kill, is there? To kill him? He's not worth it. Would only dirty my foot. Lin Ruhu snorted. Then, with one stomp, he crippled Zhang Shihao's 4 limbs. Miserable screams echoed unceasingly. At this moment Zhang Shihao lay on the ground like a dead dog. I'm only killing a chicken to warn the monkeys. Just now when we, the black and white Azuras, entered, the shopkeeper claimed not to know our names. Today I'll make sure you all know it. If anyone still can't remember, feel free to step out and say so. Those words were unbearably arrogant. Kill a chicken to warn the monkeys. Who was the chicken, and who were the monkeys? That much was obvious. Seeing that no one around dared to speak, Lin Ruhu spat in disdain. Trash like you even dare come to the demon-slaying assembly? You might as well just hand the Alliance Master position over to my big brother. Su Zimo paid him no mind, his gaze sweeping across the first floor until he spotted a familiar figure. He walked forward slowly, looked at the woman before him, and smiled. Miss Jing, what a coincidence. Miss Jing's clothing was different again this time. She wore a light purple robe, its collar boldly cut wide, revealing a graceful neckline and exquisite collarbones. Those collarbones were so deep you could practically raise goldfish in them. Sunlight from a nearby window spilled across her, her skin like jade, her beautiful face glowing softly, especially her violet, enchanting eyes, carrying a natural aura of charm and cunning brilliance. No matter where she sat, she was always the one to draw every first glance. This isn't really a coincidence, Miss Jing said softly. I came especially for young Master Su. For me? What for? Su Zimo asked curiously. For the demon-slaying assembly, of course. Originally I planned to make a move and disrupt this assembly. Miss Jing covered her mouth, laughing lightly. But since young Master Su has come, there will surely be a good show to watch. I think you're just here to watch the show yourself, Su Zimo replied. He had issued the battle challenge 7 days ago. Naturally, anyone with eyes and ears would know. Young Master Su, after such a long journey, aren't you thirsty? Miss Jing lifted her wine cup and handed it to him. On the rim of the cup, a red lipstick mark remained clearly. It was obvious she had just drunk from it. No need. Su Zimo shook his head slightly and sat down at the nearby table. Miss Jing shook her head with a laugh. You're still so clueless about romance. Lin Ruhu sat down too, shouting loudly, Shopkeeper, bring us the best wine and dishes for us brothers. The shopkeeper sighed, clearly unwilling to stir up more trouble, and ordered his men to prepare. After the meal, night gradually fell outside, but the entire city still shone brightly, preparing for tomorrow's demon-slaying assembly. The Bailey Imperial clan was surely at its busiest time. Su Zimo stood at the very top of the star-plucking tower, overlooking the surroundings. From this height, one couldn't see within the city. It was too high, but only the land around Bailey City. Lin Ruhu walked up with a list in hand. Brother Zimo, I investigated. This time, there are 12 imperial lineages that came to the Bailey Imperial clan, Lin Ruhu said. As for other first-rate and second-rate forces, they're countless. And these 12 imperial lineages aren't even all of them. Reportedly, many more went to the Middle Continent's immortal extinction's sacred ground, trying to ally with their holy son. It really is a rare grand event in 1,000 years, Su Zimo smiled. Which 12 imperial lineages? Our eastern continent has 4, Blood Nether's sacred ground, Purgatory's sacred ground, the Mo Imperial clan, and the Bailey Imperial clan itself. From the northern continent came 5 empires: the Ancient Phoenix Kingdom, Sword Spirit Kingdom, Vast Ocean Kingdom, Great Qian Dynasty, and Heavenly Dragon Kingdom. And from the western continent came 3 imperial lineages: the Heavenly Fox Race, Little Bright Sacred Ground, and Bodhisattva Monastery. As for the southern and middle continents, their imperial lineages all seem to be gathering toward the immortal extinction sacred ground instead of coming here. Su Zimo nodded slightly. The northern continent was renowned for its empires. 36 empires ruled that land, each of them equivalent to an imperial lineage. Many of the sects here were unfamiliar to him. He knew the native eastern continent sects much better. So even the Mo Imperial clan came, Su Zimo said with a faint smile. As the family of the Formation Emperor, his past relations with the Mo Imperial clan were fairly good. When he traveled to the Middle Continent before, he had borrowed their teleportation formation. Hopefully tomorrow they'll all have a nice surprise, Su Zimo murmured, gazing up at the distant starry sky. The night passed in silence. Finally, the sky brightened. The entire Bailey City was filled with jubilation, drums beating, lions dancing, cheers ringing. The demon-slaying assembly officially began at the Bailey estate. Chapter 975, Demon-slaying conference begins. Just like when the Martial Heaven tournament was held before, in the center of the city a projection appeared in the void, allowing everyone to see all the contents of the conference clearly. The place where the demon-slaying assembly was being held was the Bailey Imperial clan's Heaven Genesis microcosm. Early in the morning, crowds were already moving toward the Bailey Imperial clan. Besides the 12 imperial lineages leading the way, behind them came first-class and second-class sects, as well as famous rouge cultivators from across the continent. The requirements for this demon-slaying assembly were not that high. Anyone could come forth to fight. But life and death were not questioned. In short, before coming out to contend for the position of Alliance Master, one had to be ready to die. Otherwise, if just anyone could jump in and muddle things, the conference would never end, not even until the Year of the Monkey. At the base of the star-picking tower, when Su Zimo and Lin Ruhu came downstairs, they found Miss Jing waiting for them deliberately. "Bro, how should I address her?" Lin Ruhu asked. He didn't know what kind of relationship Su Zimo and Miss Jing had. "You should call me sister-in-law." Miss Jing covered her mouth and laughed lightly. "So you've been waiting here early in the morning just to tease me?" Su Zimo asked. "Can't you be a little gentler with me?" Miss Jing cast him a reproachful look. For a moment she was full of allure. From her sleeve she produced 2 tokens, saying, "Here. These are the tokens to enter the demon-slaying assembly. Although the restrictions aren't too strict, you don't think just anyone can walk in, right?" "Thanks," Su Zimo said as he accepted the tokens. He glanced at them. One side was black, the other golden. On the golden side, a tiny figure raised a long sword to stab forward. On the black side, a grotesque demon head was sprawled on the ground. Recently, a lot of talk has been spreading on the continents, in short, something like the demon sovereign destruction theory, Miss Jing said. Someone is deliberately spreading this, perhaps trying to put you in opposition to the whole world, making people hate the ancient demon race. Some have even begun pretending to be demons, flying the flag, burning, killing, and plundering. "I think those are the ones who truly deserve to die," Lin Ruhu said angrily. "Beasts in human skin, hypocritical animals." Su Zimo nodded slightly at the side. "Brother Zimo, you also think they're beasts?" Lin Ruhu asked. It's not that I care about that," Su Zimo said as he looked at the token. "But the demon sovereign is obviously a very handsome guy, yet they drew him so ugly. Just that alone is enough to anger gods and men alike." After saying this, Su Zimo looked at Miss Jing and asked, "You're going into the demon-slaying assembly as well? To see you display your divine power, how could I miss that?" Miss Jing laughed. "If you get defeated, I just might get the chance to play the beauty rescuing the hero. And besides, you don't need to thank me. There will be many chances in the future where you'll need to. When that time comes, how do you plan to repay me?" "That's easy. If someday you run into trouble, or are being hunted down, I can consider saving you," Su Zimo replied. "I won't run into trouble." Miss Jing shook her head confidently. "Don't be so sure," Su Zimo said. "I am sure." Miss Jing looked straight into Su Zimo's eyes and said word by word. The sound of steel rang out, clang, as Shadow Tyrant was suddenly drawn. Miss Jing stared in shock. Su Zimo's blade was already at her throat. The cold intent of the blade even touched her skin. She could feel the stern killing intent. "Right now I want to kill you. Then I persuade myself not to kill you." Su Zimo sheathed the blade and said, "See? I just saved your life. We're even." "What the hell kind of BS logic is that?" Miss Jing froze in place. "You're cursing me?" Su Zimo frowned. "No, BS means beautiful and sweet. Not a curse word." Miss Jing hurried to explain. "All right, let's go to the Bailey Imperial clan." Su Zimo waved his hand, not bothering to argue. As the hosts of this demon-slaying assembly, the Bailey Imperial clan had prepared for a long time. During this period, the entire family had set everything aside, focusing only on preparations for the event. The head of the family, Bailey Chungfeng, was dressed in a long robe of cyan, standing at the family gate to welcome the guests as a sign of respect. At the entrance was a place to check tokens. Su Zimo and Lin Ruhu wore masks, handed over their tokens, and went in. Brother Zimo, what do you think would happen if we removed our masks during the demon-slaying assembly? What kind of expressions would people make? Lin Ruhu laughed. He thought for a moment, then added, wouldn't they think it's like wolves entering a tiger's den? Shouldn't it be like a tiger entering a flock of sheep? Su Zimo laughed. The gate to the Heaven Genesis microcosm opened, the void gate slowly revolving. The most distinguished people had already gone in first. As for the rest, they had to line up obediently to enter the small world. Once again arriving in the Heaven Genesis microcosm, Su Zimo recalled much. The first time he came here, it was to create a world and steal the primal essence of heaven and earth. Later, when that primal essence was gone, this particle world was wasted. Now it could only be used for holding large gatherings. Its only remaining advantage was its vast size. People looked around at the interior of the Heaven Genesis microcosm. In the very center stood an arena nearly 1,000 meters in length and width. The materials used to build it were the extremely rare Dao crystals. It was clear the Bailey Imperial clan had spared no expense this time. Many ordinary people couldn't understand this. Even if they killed the demon sovereign, it didn't seem like there was much benefit to the Bailey Imperial clan. They couldn't figure out why the family was so fervent, paying such a high price. Surrounding the arena were hundreds of seats, reserved for those of some status. Especially the first few dozen seats, forged from radiant gold, decorated with dragon and phoenix motifs, grand and imposing. As for the rest, they could only stand on the outer edges and watch. After all, this election of the Alliance Master had nothing to do with them. They were just here to watch the excitement. At the edges were placed several massive drums. Su Zimo looked at his token and realized it did not assign him a seat. The name Black and White Azura had only appeared yesterday. Having no seat was normal. He looked around and happened to spot some acquaintances. Well, if it isn't the two from Chicken Sect. Lin Ruhu swaggered forward, grinning. Although yesterday he had stomped and broken Zhang Shihao's limbs, the Heavenly Chicken Sect was still a major sect. Restorative pills that could bring flesh and bone back from death were not rare for them. With an elder healing him, recovery wasn't difficult. Seeing Lin Ruhu and Su Zimo walk over, Zhang Shihao's expression changed. He quickly asked, what do you two want? This is the demon-slaying assembly. All 12 imperial lineages are here. You'd better behave yourselves. Chapter 976, Bewitching the Hearts of People. Relax, I won't hit you this time, Lin Ruhu said with a grin. But I must say, this seat of yours looks pretty decent. This is our Heavenly Chicken Sect's seat, Zhang Shihao hurriedly replied. I'm just not the type who likes standing. The moment I stand, my temper flares. And once my temper flares, I feel like hitting someone. If I hit someone, you'll end up crippled again. So, you get my point, right? Lin Ruhu chuckled darkly. Master? Zhang Shihao looked at the elder beside him, nearly in tears. Let's go, the old man said, casting a glance at Su Zimo. He rose to his feet without another word and left directly. In this world, he understood far too well, the size of one's fist was the only truth that mattered. Su Zimo and Lin Ruhu sat down. The chairs were a little toward the back, but since the ground was elevated, the view of the stage was actually quite clear. Brother Zimo, are you planning to participate? Lin Ruhu asked. The main character always comes in at the finale, Su Zimo smiled. But you could go up there and give it a try, see how far your strength has come now. But where's Miss Jing? We just saw her earlier, and now she's vanished the moment we came in. Lin Ruhu muttered curiously. Stay away from her. That woman isn't simple, Su Zimo said. Why? Didn't she just help us? Lin Ruhu asked. Then why did she help me? Just because I'm handsome?
Su Zimo countered.
Well, maybe it's exactly because you're handsome, Lin Ruhu grinned. That actually makes sense. Su Zimo nodded in mock agreement. Still, despite the banter, he remained wary of Jing all the same. Just then, the booming sound of drums thundered like rolling storms across the arena. The deafening beats silenced the noisy crowd at once. The drummers wore red robes and wielded mallets wrapped with crimson threads that fluttered and whipped through the air as the beats resounded, stirring hearts and shaking lungs. With the rhythm of the drums, the 12 sacred lords stepped forward together. Each radiated a unique aura, surging with endless spirit force. Yet all carried the same overwhelming presence, like gods descending, pressing down on all around them. 11 of the 12 took their seats at the front, while Bailey Chungfeng stepped up onto the stage. His cyan robe swayed in the breeze. Though the sword at his waist remained sheathed, a towering sword aura already soared into the sky. He raised his right hand, and the earth-shaking drumbeats ceased at once. I thank you all for gathering here today, for contributing your strength to the common people of this world. I believe among the imperial lineages, explanations are unnecessary. But for the many unaffiliated cultivators and minor sects here, they may not understand what exactly is a demon. Bailey Chungfeng paused slightly after speaking, then raised his right hand. At some point, a golden scroll had appeared in it. As he unfurled the scroll, boundless imperial might erupted. The will of an emperor burst into the skies, like a blade suspended over the heads of all. The pressure weighed down on everyone, making them instinctively want to bow in submission. On the golden scroll were 2 words, Demon Execution. These characters were unmistakably written by a grand emperor. That imperial aura could not be false. This imperial decree was bestowed by our ancestor, Grand Emperor Chongkong. Bailey Chungfeng declared, silencing all murmurs with a single sentence. Not just our Bailey imperial clan, I believe many imperial lineages have received similar decrees, all from their own ancestors. I can briefly explain. In a time long forgotten, buried in history, the Infernal Lord once led his ancient demon race in an attempt to annihilate the entire world. During that era, all life was destroyed, endless bloodshed filled the lands, and despair blanketed the continent. Eventually, the oppressed races united to resist the Infernal Lord. After tens of thousands of years of struggle, they finally sealed him away and defeated the ancient demon race. But now, as ages have passed, the Infernal Lord has begun to awaken. Before he fully recovers and regathers the demons, this is our one and only chance. Bailey Chungfeng's tone grew solemn. Do not think this has nothing to do with you. When the Infernal Lord descends, no one will be spared. So I ask you, like the sages of old, unite together, and with me execute the demons. Execute the demons. Execute the demons. As his words fell, the crowd began to chant. First a few scattered voices, then more and more, until a tidal wave of sound erupted, crashing like a storm. What utter nonsense! Lin Ruhu muttered in defiance amid the shouting. This man is skilled at bewitching hearts with words. Never noticed it before, Su Zimo said with a smirk. You think if I make him kneel later, shouting long live the demon sovereign, how that would look? On stage, Bailey Chungfeng raised his hands again, signaling for quiet. Smiling, he said, since we've formed the demon-slaying alliance, it is only natural that we fight for the same cause. But with no leader, a dragon without a head, we risk disaster. And that is precisely the purpose of today's demon-slaying assembly. I believe everyone knows the rules. If you have the strength and can command respect, anyone may participate. Now, I officially declare the demon-slaying assembly open. As his words echoed, the arena erupted into noise once more. This tournament wasn't restricted to the young. Anyone could join. Even old men in their 70s could step up if they wished. Since everyone is waiting, why not let me take the first step? A loud laugh rang from the crowd. People turned toward the voice. It's Golden Dragon Immortal, someone whispered. A rogue cultivator, bold of him. The Taoist wore a bright yellow robe embroidered with dragons. His chest puffed out proudly, a cheerful grin on his face as he strode onto the stage. Which worthy brother will test his skills against me? He asked. I will. Another voice responded, and a massive, burly man carrying a giant axe on his back stepped forward. "That's Grand Pine Sage," someone explained for those who didn't know. The Grand Pine sect resides in Mount Moon. They say this hermit is incredibly strong. He once carried the entire mountain on his back, walking 100,000 miles without resting. Sounds impressive, but whether Golden Dragon Immortal or the Grand Pine Sage, neither seems fit for the role of Alliance Master, another muttered. "You don't get it," someone nearby laughed. "This is just a chance for them to show their faces. Later, within the Demon-Slaying Alliance, they might secure a title or a post. Unless a true heavyweight steps up, these first matches are just warm-ups." On stage, the two men bowed to each other. Then the Grand Pine Sage slowly drew the massive axe from his back. Chapter 977 Lord of Light vs. Guiding Venerable. Golden Dragon Immortal also steadied his footing, his eyes calm as he looked straight ahead. Within his body, a golden divine dragon faintly flowed. It was as if this dragon coursed through his blood, visible within his veins, ready to burst out at any moment. Pine of the Northern Sea, floating through the mortal world for countless years, Grand Pine Sage roared as he directly lifted the giant axe in his hand. That axe erupted with unprecedented might, tearing through the void as it hacked toward Golden Dragon Immortal. A dragon's roar echoed. Golden Dragon Immortal's figure turned illusory, as though he truly transformed into a divine dragon, twisting and weaving through the void. One excelled in raw power, the other in speed. For a time, neither could overwhelm the other. After about 5 or 6 minutes of battle, Grand Pine Sage suddenly changed his momentum. He threw aside his giant axe, bringing his palms together and standing in a strange posture. Seeing his opponent discard his weapon, Golden Dragon Immortal grew suspicious, but still struck with a palm. A loud boom rang out. Golden Dragon Immortal was horrified to discover that his power could not move the other man at all. By the time he tried to withdraw, it was already too late. Countless strands of spirit force transformed into branches, surrounding and besieging him from all directions. "Do you know why I am called Grand Pine Sage?" Grand Pine Sage laughed. "It is because I am the pine tree upon Moon Mountain that absorbed the essence of heaven and earth and transformed into form." As the branches of spirit force bound Golden Dragon Immortal tightly like ropes, Grand Pine Sage finally let out a sigh of relief. His opponent's speed was indeed frightening. With a single kick, he knocked Golden Dragon Immortal off the stage, though without harming him. "This match goes to Grand Pine Sage. You may choose to continue fighting or take a rest." "I'll rest a bit," Grand Pine Sage said with a laugh. Soon, another contestant stepped onto the stage. It was truly a scene of, "When you finish your act, I begin mine," each one dazzling for a moment. But everyone knew these were just appetizers, warm-ups before the true feast later. The entire morning passed with such matches one after another. Even Suzimo felt some admiration. They truly had patience. Finally, after another bout ended, a figure stood up. The previously noisy venue gradually grew quiet. The path of cultivation is like rowing upstream. If you do not advance, you fall back. Why not let this little monk push the boat forward? A bald monk walked step by step onto the stage, each step steady and firm. Around his neck hung an especially large string of prayer beads, each bead carved with a different skull pattern. His gray robes were somewhat old, yet immaculately clean. "It's Guiding Venerable," someone said. Guiding Venerable was the abbot of Bodhisattva Monastery. As one of the 12 imperial lineages, Bodhisattva Monastery's history was not especially long. It was well known that the previous generation's Grand Emperor of Primordial Heartlands was the Mortal Emperor, and before him was Kunlun Emperor. But before the Kunlun Emperor bore the heaven's will, the world had simply called him Kunlun Monk. Guiding Venerable was the one who led him into Bodhisattva Monastery. This Guiding Venerable was a true old monster. No one knew how many years he had lived. But in his own words, all beings suffer. The sea of Buddha is boundless, and someone must guide the way. He, Guiding Venerable, was the lamp to lead all beings out of the sea of suffering. "Looks like the master couldn't resist," Suzimo chuckled. That old monk should stay in his monastery chanting mantras. What's he doing meddling here? Lin Ruhua snorted. Perhaps he got tired of chanting. Su Zimo laughed. A young man nearby overheard and joined in, smiling. Brother, your words are mistaken. Guiding Venerable is a true enlightened monk. He has come to save all beings from the sea of suffering. Do you have a sea of suffering that needs saving? Su Zimo asked, looking at him. Yes, and many of them, the youth replied with a smile. Poor aptitude, weak cultivation, no extraordinary family background. There are countless places in which I consider myself mired in suffering. Su Zimo smiled faintly but did not reply further. When Guiding Venerable ascended the stage, many who had intended to step up hesitated. They knew each other's strength well enough. Sparring among themselves was fine. But Guiding Venerable was not someone they could contend with. Still, some were unwilling. I'll come. A loud laugh rang from the distance. A man strode forward. They may all fear your reputation, but I do not, the man said coldly. Until we fight, no one knows who is stronger. Guiding Venerable smiled serenely at the man. He then said softly, Layman, you must quiet your heart. As his words fell, an invisible force surrounded the man, directly pushing him off the stage. No matter how hard he resisted, it was useless. Seeing this, everyone's hearts trembled. To simply push him down without causing harm, that was the true bearing of a master. Quiet your heart. Indeed, they all should quiet their hearts. What strength one has determines what one should do. Many thought silently to themselves. These words were not only for that man but also for them. The entire venue fell into silence. A figure stood lazily from his seat, as if just waking from a nap. Old Guiding, let's have some fun, he said with a smile. Seeing this figure, the crowd tensed again. Little Bright Sacred Ground, someone murmured. This man was seated where Little Bright Sacred Ground's people were. But looking at his face, they did not recognize him. They had heard of several ancestors and the sacred lord of that imperial lineage. But this man, he wore a golden long robe, his hair loose and messy behind him, giving off a carefree air. He had a square face, appeared to be in his 40s, with deep-set eyes, a high nose, and stubble that made him appear all the more mature and steadier. As the man walked up, whispers filled the air. Even Guiding Venerable seemed somewhat surprised. I wonder which senior of the sacred ground you are? Guiding Venerable asked humbly. Identity and name don't matter. I walk the world only to pursue my ideal, the man replied with a laugh. On the spectator seats, Su Zimo stared at him for a long time before uttering two words. Xiao Dingtian, the Lord of Light, his old acquaintance from his previous life, once a closest friend. But in this life, he had met him earlier and already learned his true identity. In the past life, Xiao Dingtian had become his friend because Su Zimo had been defeated by Chu Yang, left in despair and dejection. But in this life, they were destined to be mortal enemies, because their identities stood opposed. Perhaps it was his ideal or his principle. Guiding Venerable nodded slightly, acknowledging his words. Chapter 978 Tao of Light. One saw the Guiding Venerable raise his right hand in a Buddhist salute. His right hand turned into a palm, Buddhist radiance spreading between his fingers, and as he stepped one foot after another, clearly moving very slowly, his speed was actually extremely fast as he struck toward the man. Bodhisattva palm. One palm descended, transforming into hundreds and thousands of palm prints. It was clearly an ordinary technique, but when used by him, it seemed to evolve into the pinnacle of mastery, reaching an ultimate state. But the man opposite remained calm. He waved his hand and said with a faint smile, Hands are only two. There have never been illusions. In that instant, all the palm prints vanished, and there were only two hands before him, moving very slowly. The Guiding Venerable was not surprised. He pressed his palms together, and the Buddhist radiance under his feet surged. At this moment, he sat cross-legged upon the ground, yet his figure moved swiftly. Especially when he attacked the man, his figure disappeared. Not from speed so great it vanished, but truly disappeared. And how could something that vanished be blocked? It's the 9 diagrams 6 seats body technique. Someone shouted excitedly below. Sitting meditation can count as a movement technique? Someone asked in doubt. You don't understand. In Bodhisattva Monastery, there are 99,900 postures of seated meditation. That's 99,900 evolutions. Single evolutions, combined evolutions, calculated this way, they can become infinite, the person explained. This seated meditation is the strongest among body techniques. So-called disappearance is nothing more than illusion or perhaps a higher-level use of the Tao. In this world, true disappearance has never existed. All things, from birth to arrival, have their meaning, the man said. Then he waved his right hand in the air. Clearly that space had been empty, but there came a muffled groan, and the guiding Venerable's figure was thrown flying back. Venerable, use your full strength. Between us there is no need for testing, the man said with a smile. In the Mahayana Dharma of Buddhism, there are 5 eyes and 6 powers. I wonder, to what level have you cultivated? Heavenly Eye. The guiding Venerable closed his eyes, then once again slowly opened them. One could feel his eyes had undergone some change, but for a moment it was impossible to say what it was. As though in the unseen, something had become different. The so-called heavenly eye can see the joys and sorrows of beings in the 6 paths, can see the destination of life and death. The guiding Venerable murmured to himself. He looked at the man before him and saw that his whole body was covered with lines of life and death. He frowned slightly. By common logic, every person should only have one line of life and death, from birth, leading to death. This is the destiny of beings. But at this moment, something is wrong, something is wrong. The guiding Venerable's brows furrowed deeper. A Buddhist practitioner is not one who delights in contesting strength. They persuade through great wisdom, they teach through the great principles. But now, the guiding Venerable discovered he could not see through the man before him. How could he persuade? How could he teach? Divine ear, divine mind. Of the 6 powers, he had already opened 3. The divine ear could hear all beings' cries of suffering, while the divine mind could know the innermost desires of the other. But at this moment, they were useless, he could sense nothing. And of the 6 powers, the remaining divine foot was movement. It would not help against this man. Destiny, power. The guiding Venerable uttered the 5th power with difficulty, word by word. One could see how strained he was. From his whole body arose the sound of the Dharma, as though an endless river of fate flowed through his blood, crushing his body. Destiny power was immensely powerful. Could see the fate of people, no life and death, no past and future. The movements of great epochs, the transformations of things, one might say it was akin to foreknowledge. From seeing an individual's destiny, to perceiving the fate of an entire age. It's already your limit, then? The man shook his head in slight disappointment. If you could comprehend that final power, the 6th, the power of exhaustion, perhaps you could still contend. A pity, such a pity. Who are you? The guiding Venerable asked word by word. He raised his head, only to feel that the man before him was at times towering and majestic, at times plain and ordinary. He could not tell which was real. If you wish to know my identity, then open your 5 eyes, the man said with a light laugh. The 5 eyes and 6 powers. Aside from the 6 powers mentioned, the 5 eyes were the fleshly eye, the heavenly eye, the wisdom eye, the Dharma eye, and the Buddha eye. The fleshly eye was the ordinary human eye. It sees what is before, not behind. Sees near, not far. Sees day, not night. Sees only that which is not obstructed. The guiding Venerable had cultivated for countless years, yet now he had opened only the 4th eye, the Dharma eye. The Dharma eye was the eye of the Bodhisattva, able to know all expedient means of beings. When the Dharma eye opened, the guiding Venerable's expression changed drastically. His whole body trembled slightly. You are the Lord of Light. As his words fell, the man's body burst forth with boundless radiance. That light was not Buddha's radiance, not firelight, nor any light cast by objects. It was the purest, most primordial light. Lord of Light, who is that? Someone asked, not understanding. The founder of the little bright sacred ground. Back then it was he who established the sacred ground, someone said excitedly. Some already knelt down, bathing in the radiance, their whole body comfortable, all worldly ills dispersed. It was I who was blind to have actually competed against the Lord of Light, the guiding venerable said, somewhat ashamed. He, too, was master of one of the imperial lineages, yet at this moment he admitted defeat so straightforwardly. You misunderstand. I never sought to win against you. The Lord of Light shook his head. I saw you trapped in confusion, so I wished to deliver you. Of the 6 powers you have realized only 5. Of the 5 eyes you have opened only 4. For thousands of years you have been unable to take another step forward. Do you know why? Please, Lord of Light, enlighten me, the guiding venerable said. Then I ask you, is Buddha good or bad? The Lord of Light asked. My Buddha is merciful, naturally good. The guiding venerable answered without hesitation. Then are all the Buddhas in the world good? The Lord of Light asked again. The guiding venerable hesitated. Buddha was a broad title. So many had attained Buddhahood. In such a forest all kinds of birds existed. He did not dare answer so simply. He had even heard before of evil Buddhas in this world. You see, you are confused, because you have not yet seen your own path clearly, the Lord of Light said with a smile. You say Buddha is merciful. Then what is it you truly cultivate, Buddha or mercy? Actually, your direction is mistaken. You are kind at heart, concerned for beings, willing to be their guide. So you cultivate goodness, you cultivate compassion, not Buddha. Or rather, the Buddha in your heart is merely the incarnation of goodness and compassion. I call all of this light. Whether Buddha or goodness, all return to my Tao of Light. Chapter 979, Fox Immortal. The Lord of Light was bathed in radiance. At this moment, he was even more dazzling than the sun in the sky. The words from his mouth came forth and immediately transformed into substance, like preaching, with the sound of the grand Tao echoing. Among the people below, more and more began to kneel. Light is the end of all things. Everything begins with light. Along the way, one must drive away darkness and finally return to light. Be it Buddha, Tao, chivalry, empires, or the storms of the world, all are but a corner of the light. The guiding venerable stared blankly at the Lord of Light. His gaze was filled with devotion, and in the end, even tears welled in his eyes. His emotional changes were not something outsiders could describe. After a long time, the radiance began to fade, and the guiding venerable stood up from the ground. He bowed deeply to the Lord of Light. From this day forth, I am willing to become a guide for the light. The Bodhisattva temple is a Buddhist temple, and it is also a temple of light. As his words fell, everyone below was greatly shaken. Without doing anything, just a few sentences had made the sacred lord of an imperial lineage pledge his following. The great figures present could not calm their hearts for a long time. May you all yearn for the light, the Lord of Light said loudly. Immediately, endless flowers of light drifted down from above. As the guiding venerable conceded and left the stage, Bailey Chungfeng also announced the Lord of Light's victory. Those kneeling below were mostly from other sects. Many experts of those sects looked on with dark expressions, letting out heavy snorts. This finally awakened the ones kneeling, who each wore a face of shame. It was said that after creating the little bright sacred ground, the Lord of Light left and never returned. He walked the world, spreading light. But his fame was not large, for he always appeared through incarnations, and many who had received his blessings never knew he was the Lord of Light. But his appearance this time made many realize something. Could it be that the demon really intended to destroy the world? Many secretly pondered this in their hearts. Bailey Chungfeng then asked, will the Lord of Light continue to fight, or rest? Since I have stepped onto the stage, I will not step down. The Lord of Light smiled. Light always presses forward and never leaves a retreat. Very well. Then who will challenge the Lord of Light next? Bailey Chungfeng asked loudly. The scene immediately fell silent. Everyone seemed to be in thought. Some did not dare, others weighed the gains and losses. Why not let this concubine try? A soft and alluring voice suddenly sounded. The voice was like rippling spring water, gently brushing across everyone's heart. Before even seeing the speaker, many could not suppress the fire in their hearts, stirred into desire. Some breathed heavily as they looked toward the source of the voice. A pair of fair, delicate jade feet slowly stepped onto the stage. She wore no shoes, pure and immaculate. Above the feet were slender, white legs. The long legs were covered with a translucent veil, half concealing, half revealing. Further up, one could hardly wait to see her face and entire figure. She was an exceedingly enchanting woman, with long, straight hair unpinned, cascading freely over her shoulders. Her lips were soft, her eyes alluring, her nose delicate, and her brows graceful. Her features were simply a perfect union, like gentle rippling water flowing to embrace you, making one intoxicated. Some stared in a daze, even drooling. Even those with firm Tao hearts could not help but praise her beauty. "It's Fox Immortal," someone said, suppressing the tremor in their heart. "The matriarch of the heavenly fox race. A natural enchantress, her charm arts must have reached the apex. To gain this woman, what is the world?" Su Zimo turned his head and saw that Lin Ruhu actually wore a dazed expression. It seemed this youngster's Tao heart was still not strong enough. But it was no wonder. His cultivation time was still too short. There would have to be an opportunity to let him experience the great dream scripture to temper himself. "Don't look!" Su Zimo patted his shoulder. "Ah!" Lin Ruhu exclaimed in shock, finally waking up. "Brother Zimo, just now It's nothing." Su Zimo shook his head. "You still have a long road ahead. Though already better than many of your peers, it is still not enough. Compared to these old monsters who have lived countless years, your Tao heart is lacking." "I understand," Lin Ruhu replied guiltily. "You need not feel discouraged. Everyone walks this path. Few are born invincible." Su Zimo smiled. On the stage, Fox Immortal looked at the Lord of Light. With some grievance, she said, "Taoist, long time no see. Why has Lady Siener come onto the stage?" The Lord of Light asked. "Taoist, you know well why," she smiled. "I do not understand." The Lord of Light shook his head. "You are truly heartless. Back then, you left without a word. All these years I searched for your trace, but you never returned to see me once." Fox Immortal said with sadness. "You left me alone, thinking of you, longing for you every day. You misunderstand. The Taoist you speak of was merely an incarnation of me. I am the Lord of Light." The Lord of Light shook his head and explained. "An incarnation is still you." "I don't care," Fox Immortal replied. "These years I searched for you only for one answer." The people below looked at the two conversing, somewhat astonished. Could it be that the Lord of Light and Fox Immortal had known each other long ago? And judging by this, their relationship was not simple. "Xiao Dingtian, even you with your thick brows and big eyes turned out to be this kind of man," Su Zimo said with amused interest. "What answer does Lady seek?" the Lord of Light asked. "Do I exist in your heart?" Fox Immortal asked. "Of course, my heart holds all living beings, and light delivers the world. Since you are among the living, you are naturally within it," the Lord of Light replied. "I'm not talking about that bullshit light," Fox Immortal snapped angrily. "I mean love. My heart has never held love." The Lord of Light shook his head. "Then fine, today I will stand here on this stage. If you kill me, you will win," Fox Immortal said stubbornly. "Why trouble yourself so, lady?" The Lord of Light shook his head. "It is nothing but obsession." "What, you don't dare?" Fox Immortal smiled. She smiled, her lips curled, carrying a trace of pride. The light on her fair cheeks shimmered. like tenderness that could melt the snow of the heavenly mountains. The Lord of Light raised his hand, and a beam of radiance descended, blasting her figure away. The light surged, and the Lord of Light raised his hand again. Dozens of meters away, Fox Immortal's body, which had been flung back, was lifted into the air. "Lady, can you let go of your obsession?" the Lord of Light asked again. His gaze was calm and still, without the slightest trace of emotion. Chapter 980 Lin Ruhu. "No." Fox Immortal still shook her head. She wept, tears filling her misty eyes, the tip of her reddened nose streaming with sorrowful drops, making all things fall silent just to listen to her voice. "People say my heavenly fox race is born seductive, a calamity, a bewitcher of lords, an ominous sign. There were emperors whose dynasties perished because of fox demons. From birth we bear countless gazes, but I always remembered what you once told me. All beings cannot decide the fate of their birth, but they can decide their fate after birth. Some are born into wealth, some into poverty. But the wealthy can squander everything, falling into destitution, and the destitute can strive, eventually amassing riches beyond measure." As she spoke, Fox Immortal looked earnestly at the Lord of Light. "Taoist, your words I have never forgotten. Your kindness I have kept in my heart. If you are to kill, then kill. This obsession, even in death, I cannot put down." At this, Fox Immortal began humming a little tune. Blue fox spirit, slender waist wrapped in silk, graceful smile, eyes glancing back, posture alluring, steps measured. A single turn enchants 10,000 beauties. The moon shines bright, clouds embrace bamboo, winds drift light, she dances with ease. Lotus blossoms, skin like jade. Into the mortal world she goes. Who among all can share her freedom? The Lord of Light gazed at her, the brilliance on his body flickering bright and dim, his heart in a battle of heaven and man. For a long, long time, he finally let out a deep and heavy sigh. He lowered his right hand, and Fox Immortal's figure slowly floated back down to the ground. "The Taoist asked me to tell you, he does not like you dressing so revealingly." The Lord of Light said this, then quickly walked down the stage, not once turning his head, heading straight out. His heart at last had ripples, light had cracked. Seeing the Lord of Light depart, Fox Immortal hurriedly chased after him. "Taoist, are you jealous? Taoist, you still haven't answered my question. Taoist, have you thought of me all these years?" Their figures, along with her voice, disappeared into the Bailey estate. The people below looked at each other, bewildered. What happened to the passionate battle? Why did it feel like they were just force-fed dog food, and then the culprits vanished? At the side, Patriarch Bailey was also a bit embarrassed, but he had no choice except to step onto the stage. Since the Lord of Light and Fox Immortal have left, it means they concede. Now, others may continue the contest. "Brother Zimo, I want to go up and try," Lin Ruhu said. "I want to test myself against these top experts, to see just how strong I really am." "Go," Su Zimo smiled. It was time for Lin Ruhu to leave the protection of himself and his grandfather, and spread his wings in the outside world. Lin Ruhu did not say more, but silently walked onto the stage. Wearing the black Azura mask, he drew the attention of the crowd only after stepping forward. "Who will fight?" He scanned everyone, speaking loudly. "Who is this guy? Hiding behind a mask. Such a sneaky fellow. Probably can't show his face. This black Azura, I saw him yesterday at the star-plucking tower, along with a white Azura. They were extremely domineering. Just some nameless brat. Since when did it become his turn to step up?" At that moment, a figure stood from the central seats. "If no one else is willing, then I shall. We cannot let others look down upon our imperial lineages," an old man said with a cheerful smile. "He's from the Sword Spirit Kingdom. Seems to be the Grand Blade ancestor. The first monarch of the Sword Spirit Kingdom was the ancient Sword Emperor. It is said his destined weapon was a divine sword named Grandblade. This sword followed him through countless battles, eventually carrying his heaven's will. But after enduring the tempering of heaven's will, the sword transformed into human form. The ancient sword emperor, deeply moved by this fortune, left the Grand Blade Sword behind in the primordial heartlands, ascending alone. The Grand Blade Sword, after cultivating for endless years, eventually became ruler of the Sword Spirit Kingdom, taking the title Grand Blade Ancestor. Now, as the Grand Blade Ancestor walked forward step by step, his aura was immense. He seemed like a godly sword drawn from its sheath, or rather, he himself was a divine sword. The might of one who had entered the immortal realm surged forth like waves. Lin Ruhu was only at the God Meridian realm, but his face was firm, and though the pressure came at him like roaring torrents, he stood utterly unmoved. "Please enlighten me," said the Grand Blade Ancestor. Lin Ruhu roared, directly throwing out his fists, without any flashy moves, striking straight at the ancestor. At the start of his cultivation, Su Zimo had given him the strength scripture of the Tyrant Emperor. Lin Ruhu had followed it ever since. Every punch carried violent force. Nothing could withstand one punch, and if one wasn't enough, then two. Explosions roared continuously. The surrounding endless void shattered completely. But the Grand Blade Ancestor was no simple figure. Though he held no sword, his body radiated inexhaustible sword intent, as if sword intent was part of his very being. The two clashed, the Elder's sword intent boundless, but Lin Ruhu's fists accepted everything head-on. However much sword intent came, he smashed apart that much. For a time, he even pressed the Elder back. The Grand Blade Ancestor seemed slightly surprised, but then waved his right hand, unleashing Sword Sea without end. The sword intent flowed like a tide, wielded with absolute mastery, moving like his own limbs, effortless and free. Endless sword energy surged forward, flooding toward Lin Ruhu. Lin Ruhu gave a cold snort, condensing explosive fist upon his fists. Like erupting magma, flames spread, even the heavens above burning scarlet. Fist met sword intent. The overwhelming power shattered the void, twisted space, even forming black holes that devoured all. Yet the two remained locked in a stalemate in the void. Grand Blade Sword, the Grand Blade Ancestor intoned. He directly revealed his destined weapon. Lin Ruhu also snorted coldly. Behind him, the phantom of a fierce tiger condensed. It was the ancient purple-eye demon tiger. Because he had fused the celestial tiger tyrant physique, Lin Ruhu chose a tiger-type true fate. And for this true fate, he had suffered plenty. Perhaps the earlier fights had been too dull, but this battle at last ignited the passion of the crowd. Under the black Azura mask, veins bulged on Lin Ruhu's forehead. His teeth clenched, as he pushed his fists forward bit by bit. The blazing Grand Blade Sword clashed with Lin Ruhu, and space twisted, both collapsing into destruction. Suddenly, a thunderous tiger's roar rang out.
L'un ruait célestial tiger tirant physique à Wakend.
With a furious howl, he shattered the long sword in an instant, his fist smashing directly into the Grand Blade Ancestor's abdomen. As a sword body, the Ancestor did not spit blood, but the sword light across his body dimmed greatly. He looked up and saw Lin Ruhu activate one of the 100 battle physiques. Not only did the phantom of a fierce beast loom behind him, but his entire presence radiated the aura of the king of all beasts.